Hello and welcome to episode 197 of the Round Nintendo Podcast. I'm Jason.
And I am Angel.
And we're calling this episode Well-Rounded because it has a lot of round stuff. I mean, basically, that's what it is. Like, on the news side, we've got Pokemon Sword and Shield and the new Detective Pikachu trailer, and that's symbolized by Pokeballs, naturally. Then we've got rumors of Xbox coming to Switch, and we all know that the Xbox logo is, round. Then we've got impressions of a Nindy that kind of flew under a lot of people's radar, Pool Panic, and a brand new multiplayer Switch game called Battlloon, both of which star round characters. And the surprise retirement of Reggie, which isn't round, but he got around the industry, had a well-rounded career, used to make Bigfoot pizzas, those were round. So, listen, I'm trying here. Just give me credit for trying. I'm trying. But
creativity ran dry.
It apparently did. There's no round reference, round pun I can make. Point is, listen, I spent it all the other day when I tweeted that Score Bunny's French name is Flambino, and he's the first form, meaning he's Childish Flambino. That's where all my creativity went, into that golden nugget of a tweet. So that's why this is called Well-Rounded, is what I'm saying.
And even that one is pretty...
No, it is the pinnacle of the on-brand Jason experience, is what that one is.
Oh, no, yeah, it was. I thought you meant, good.
Oh, no, it's my... that's where my creative...
Because you do have gold sometimes. I mean, we can't deny that.
Are you saying Childish Flambino is not gold?
No, definitely not.
Is it at least bronze?
No,
Is
it's like imitation copper.
Oof, that hurts. Well, let's just move past my punnery. If there's anything in particular anyone wants to hear on this episode from that list of round things and not round things I just mentioned, we do have timestamps from Nintendo.com. If you're on the YouTube video, they are under it. But we start off with a belated Happy Pokemon Day to all listeners. It was a few days ago. It was celebrated by someone, I'm sure. What'd you do for Pokemon Day, Angel? Did you do anything at all?
No, I didn't even really I didn't even really realize it was Pokemon Day, except when people were tweeting Happy Pokemon Day. I don't know.
That's what all fake holidays are. They're not real until someone says it to you. And they're
at least have some consistency.
It's always the 27th. It's the day Red and Blue came out in Japan as Red and Green.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It just feels always I don't know. It doesn't feel consistent. I don't know why.
It is. And Mario Day's coming up on March 10th, and that's also very consistent.
It just felt like a random day that just happened to be when the Direct was.
It's more like the Direct was when the day was, but I see your point. It's funny, I did less for...
I mean, I'm aware about, May the 4th, even though I could care less about Star Wars.
Right. Well, that's what I think.
Because...
That's what Pokemon's trying to do.
Well, they're not trying hard enough, I guess.
Apparently not. I mean, even it didn't even get my attention. I did less for Pokemon Day than I do on a typical non-Pokemon Day with things involving Pokemon. Normally I open Pokemon Go.
I thought they were just calling it Pokemon Day because, it's Pokemon Announcement Day.
Nah.
And that was pretty much it.
But yeah, I didn't even, on Pokemon Day, I didn't even open Pokemon Go, which, surprises me as much as you probably, since A... They had a bunch of shinies of Pikachu, and then they had Pikachu and Eevee in flower crowns, and more importantly, B...
was that only for that day?
It was only for that day. And B, they introduced the new Snapshot mode the other day.
I guess I played Pokemon Go that day, but not even because of that.
Did you get a flower crown? I did. And
yeah,
I'm supposedly the fan.
No, I got both of those.
Did you do the Snapshot mode? Do you know?
I didn't bother.
So, conceptually, I don't care about the photos, but I just love that the only way to get Smeargle in the game is to have him photobomb you.
I take it back. I did try it, but
I didn't... Smeargle?
No. I didn't even realize it was photo mode because I just kind of skipped all the bumpers or all the announcements,
all the onboarding.
Yeah, and then I just clicked on the camera, and then I was like, all right, I just want to see Pinsir. So then I put Pinsir in the room, and I just kind of walked around him. I'm like, wow, he's a pretty big Pokemon, just bigger than I expected, and that's pretty much it.
I will say, tall Executor,
pretty accurate AR, very impressive.
Alone Executor is shorter than I expected, and I expected. He is tall. I just thought he'd be even taller. But, yeah, I think the Smeargle thing's actually kind of clever. He has to photobomb you, and then he appears, which is just kind of funny. But anyway, the one thing I think that UI and the whole gaming world did, because you already said it, is we witnessed the unveiling of Generation 8 of Pokemon, which is now officially titled Pokemon Sword and Shield. It is part of this, 7-minute Pokemon Direct. Gave us just a taste of what's to come. It's very similar to how they did the Sun and Moon unveiling back in the day.
Pretty much gave us, less. It was almost nothing.
Did Sun and Moon even show us the Alone forms initially? I don't think so, right?
It showed us the CG wireframes of I think it was Pikipek of Pikipek.
Oh right.
And it showed us a Jeep but it pretty much it pretty much looked like, oh, it's just another Pokemon game.
Yeah.
It wasn't until later that we learned, like, oh, they're actually taking out the gyms. They're actually changing some stuff.
Yeah.
But
so what do you think? It sounds like this one had, as you point out, had even less. So what do you think?
No,
of, like coming out,
Sun and Moon had even less.
Oh, you think this one? Oh, I see what you're saying.
This one actually showed gameplay,
but it didn't show any new Pokemon besides the starters. While the other one, I guess, showed wireframes of starters.
No, not even the starters.
Wait,
That's right. It just showed.
It's been 2 very long.
It showed
years.
that one bird, and I don't even think it showed.
Oh,
the
I see what you're saying. Sorry. Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that's right. The first one had like way less than this one.
So then you must be pretty content with this one. Then, like coming out of the direct, how'd you feel about it? How'd you feel about Sword and Shield and all that?
All right, let's wait till we get the actual news drop.
That's fair.
Pretty much it. I mean, I've come to not expect anything from the initial unveilings outside of this is what the game is called and it exists, which was kind of what we got last time, which it was just this game exists.
Yeah.
But
I mean, there's some stuff you can see in there.
I mean, like, it looks more linear. I mean, this is just based on the map they showed us, but like if you look at it, like other Pokemon maps are pretty sprawling in all directions. Like you could pretty much take. It looks like you could take like different paths, go like to the left, back down. Right. It doesn't look like there's like one direct route. And in this one, it looks like the starting town is all the way in the bottom, and it doesn't look like there isn't much left and right. It looks very narrow.
You mean the map as a whole, not just a one screen. You mean the lay of the land?
No, yeah, the lay of the land. Literally,
Galar.
Yeah, it literally looks like it's a cake of tears. Like it doesn't look like there's a lot of left and right. It doesn't look like there's going to be a lot of backtracking. This is based just on what the map looks like.
Well, of course, everything we're talking about is going to be based on very little at the moment.
But I mean, that I didn't really see that as a negative or concern. It was just more like, that looks weird. Like I expected just more cities like sprawled out across everything, but it's just kind of like, I don't know, a straight road, I guess.
Yeah, it's I think for me actually what's exciting about it is the setting, not so much the shape of the setting, but like it looks to be interesting in how it kind of melds together different aspects of what it's basically like the locales and even different time periods of Great Britain all kind of like merged into one amalgamation. It's kind of cool. Like on the other, like they had like the rolling countrysides, and they had the heavily wooded areas, and they had like the first town literally looks like the Shire. But then, at the same time, you have them dabbling in some kind of industrialization thing with factories, which is kind of interesting. I don't see much of that in Pokemon. I feel like, and then they had like the mine you're walking through, and they had like steam powered stuff. And then on top of that, they have what's kind of like London. It even has like a fake Big Ben tower. So it really, like, it's very modern there. So it's kind of cool. Even if the path is linear, I like the diversity in, like, they're going beyond just like, oh yeah, this is like Paris, so we're going to make it like Paris. So this is Hawaii, so it looks like Hawaii. They're like, well, this is London, so modern Britain, and this is like old school Britain, this is like medieval Britain. And it just seems like...
So it's based on Britain.
Yeah, but different, like, parts of, like, time periods and stuff, which is new. And I think that, to me, potentially opens up some interesting new Pokemon ideas or references to British culture. I mean, like, the Sword and Shield name certainly suggests at least a nod to medieval times, like the time period, not the restaurant. But I think it'd be kind of cool if they sort of had that factor into the story in some way. Like maybe there's royalty there, or a royal guard, or like something like that, where actually, some sort of king system instead of just like the usual, oh, here's the mob that is Team Rocket or Team Galactic or what have you. And then sort of hand in hand with that idea. I'm really just riffing here now, I know. But I'm kind of curious what it means about the direction of the Pokemon designs. Because like Sun and Moon lean super heavily on the tropical angle, right? And obviously that's a little more unique because it's an island. But I'm kind of curious.
So many lowland forms.
Right? And I'm kind of curious, also, well, one, are they going to do Galaran forms? And was that just going to be a bunch of sad, droopy, wet, brown things? Like, because their weather's not enough for... Or like they could have fun with it. I mean, I could see more steel or dark types because those kind of fit with medieval, like knights in armor, or like they could lean on fantasy creatures from like the British culture, like griffins and dragons and ogres or something. And
such a,
I don't know,
literally wasted opportunity that they couldn't save Aegislash for this game because he's literally a shield and a sword.
Yeah. I want more of that kind of, or like how they have the.
Do you? Because it seems like everyone hated Aegislash. Like,
no. I mean
the sword.
Well, I don't mean to be a sword and shield. I mean, I want them to do stuff that is relevant to the theme of the location, which they didn't really do till Sun and Moon. Like, it's not like you have like Parisian, but it's not like you have a walking baguette for black and white.
Seemed fine for it.
Well, they were just Pokemon because France is just a place. But like, there's so much like.
I'm talking about Black and White, the one that was supposed to be like New York. That one had a pigeon.
Wait, which one was Paris? I thought
that's X and Y.
Oh, that's right. I was thinking of X and Y. Yeah, no, New York they did pretty well. So I want them to do that again now, and I want to do it with ogres and griffins and like an old school pixie fairy or something, or I don't know. Or like, you know what they could do? This is a stupid idea, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's an idea I stole from Reddit. I'll be honest. You know the tropical birds from Sun and Moon, the
Oricorios?
Yeah. What if they had musical beetles, like bugs, to represent the Beatles? Like, there's all these silly ideas they could run with, and I feel like if they don't, they're kind of squandering it. Which brings me, I guess, to
I feel like the amount of
the
new
starters.
Pokemon revealed was kind of concerning to me. Like, it was like, oh god, they're revealing so many not new Pokemon. Like, does that mean it's going to be another generation where it's like only 80 new Pokemon and the rest are just fillers?
I'm gonna, yeah, you know, I think they're past the days of having 100, 150 new ones.
Sun and Moon was pretty much like that. There weren't very many new Pokemon. There were very few new ones.
And they made it up with Alolan form, so now they need Galarian.
Quote unquote, made it up with. I mean, from a competitive side, it's great because it's like, oh cool, they made so and so more viable.
Right.
But it's also like, oh, that's less new designs that we get to see. Because, I mean, Alolan Vulpix isn't very exciting. Alolan Sandshrew isn't very exciting.
You know who is exciting? Alolan Executor.
Yeah, Executor was exciting.
And Doug Trio, that luscious hair.
That one was somewhere in between.
I know he looks like he's wearing a wig, but it's great.
No, I know, but it's... that one falls somewhere in between for me. It's like...
That's fair.
All right. Yeah, Alolan Muck.
He just did shrooms before he mucked it up, yeah. I do think what's interesting, you made a good point that there's a lot of familiar Pokemon. I did notice, and this was true in the Detective Pikachu trailer too, so we'll talk about that in a different way later, but I did notice that there's a lot more diversity. Game Freak has finally moved past just Gen 1. And as a fan of Gen 1, I'm even tired of Gen 1. Like, when they start going back to Gen 1 and, you know, kind of going back to the well of Pokemon Go and everything, I was like, oh, this is great. These are Pokemon I'm familiar with and I love and whatever. But they've been milking them for like a few generations or a few, you know, years now. So it's kind of nice that there were Gen 4s in there and Gen 3s in there and Gen 2s and like, you know, Pokemon you wouldn't expect to suddenly be relevant again are now relevant. Like Wailmer's randomly there.
It's funny how like Gens 1 through 4 for the most part, even to me like 1 through 4 feel now like the old school Pokemon.
Yeah.
5 is kind of like still like it's not quite there yet as like feeling like nostalgic for it, but definitely Diamond and Pearl and before that definitely feel super.
Yeah, and I think they're purposely pacing it like this. Like if you open Pokemon Go, you have up through Gen 4 now. So like, okay, anyone that's playing Pokemon Go will recognize these. That's good enough for that's enough of a threshold now. Instead of it just being the ones from back in the day, it can be any of the ones in the free mobile game we can count on people knowing. And like I said, it's also in Detective Pikachu. It's not just in Sword and Shield. That's an interesting little turn of events they did. And basically what I'm saying is it's nice to see that Game Freak remember there are 500 plus other Pokemon besides just like a million Rattatas and Pidgeys or what have you. And the level I did want to touch on this, I meant to say it before. The world, like the actual level design, the world design, the graphics, pretty good. If you like look at Let's Go, which came out like 3 months ago, it's noticeably better in terms of detail and complexity and the geometry. I mean, ultimately, it is just an up-res, I think, of the Sun and Moon engine. They just HDified it, but it looks nice. It fits. Like, some of the landscapes and vistas look really good.
I saw a picture. Yeah, the vistas and everything for sure. Yeah. I did agree with some people on Twitter. Like, they posted a picture of pretty much like Pikachu and Let's Go and in this one, and it's the exact same model. Like,
but they shaded it differently. Yeah,
and the shading definitely made a huge difference. Like, it definitely looks more like an anime Pikachu instead of just looking like a CG model of Pikachu.
Yeah, it really feels like this to me feels like when they took Super Mario 3D Land on the 3DS and then basically HDified it into Super Mario 3D World. It's kind of that sort of like, oh yeah, that's the look we know. It's just cleaner and there's more stuff to it now, but it's basically the exact same thing. So I know some people are saying it's not fancy enough, but I think it looks fine. The thing I have a bit of a bone to pick with, which kind of goes back to the whole like they should have done Pokemon that are more British, is what is going on with the starters? Like
you sound concerned or something.
I mean, I was hoping they'd do something British, and these starters are decidedly not British. And like, I don't mean like, oh, they need a bad teeth to count or something. Like it's as much as I hate to say it, these are the most like generic kind of. I'm not into them. I don't know. I mean like, you've got Scorbunny, who looks kind of like this old, like, cartoon mascot or something. Like, he does that stance in the trailer where he puts his hand on his hip sort of deal and puffs out his chest. He looks like a mix of, like, the Trix Rabbit and, like, Sonic with a hint of, like, the Mario amiibo pose, which is weird because, like, Pokemon don't have poses in that sense. They never pose for the camera like that. Like, it felt weird. And then people started comparing his design.
You've never seen Incineroar.
But they don't pose in, like...
Machoke.
No, but I'm saying they don't pose in, like, a mascot, like, I'm the cartoon guy that goes on the box of the cereal, like he did. It's never, like, cartoon poses. They're posing, like, Incineroar's a wrestler, but Choke's a weightlifter. Like, they make those sorts of poses. It's his role. I am mascot. It just seems like Pikachu never does that. It's just, I don't know, it's weird. And then people online were comparing the art of Scorbunny, who, by the way, that name's not even good. I get you're trying to do Scorch Bunny, but do like Scorchany or something. Anyway, they're comparing like the art assets of him versus other starters, and literally he has the exact pose of official Chimchar art with the exact mouth of Chespin's art. Like, it's not even, like, you can kind of overlay them and they line up perfect. It just feels so, I don't know. It feels so lazy. Like, his one redeeming quality is the fact that, as I was saying before, his French name's Flambino, which is amazing. But, yeah, I don't know. I just wasn't feeling it. Do you think about, you're the animation guy. Am I overthinking this?
I think so.
What do you think of the starters' designs?
They look fine. They don't look any better or worse than any other generation, in my opinion.
I guess. I mean,
like, literally, like, from all the way back to now, like, they don't seem any better or worse. I'm ignoring the whole British aspect. I'm just looking at them as starters. Yeah, no, that's fine. I for the sake of this argument, my British idea is out the window. I mean, they're the same thing. We haven't had a grass monkey.
We sort of had. We had, not as a starter, but we had what's his name, Pansage.
Oh yeah, we haven't had a grass monkey starter. So
yeah, yeah. And I will be to be fair, I think the real winner of the bunch, if I had to pick one, and I'm being hard by forcing him to be part of my rant about Scorbunny, but like Sobble, like, it's the saddest little Pokemon. He has Sob in his name. In one of the other countries, his name is like Tyr or something. Like, he's a sad little dude. He's apparently a total introvert. He turns invisible because he doesn't like people. He doesn't like attention. And even in the official art, he looks so dismayed and confused. It's like basically Game Freak saw how fans want to, like, protect the quote-unquote innocence of who was it in some movie? Poplio? The penguin guy? Poplio? Not Poplio.
That was a seal.
Oh yeah, the seal. I'm mixing him up with Piplup in my head. But I had the right idea, Poplio. Like, remember that whole thing where I was like, oh, we have to protect, he's so cute, we have to protect him. I feel like Game Freak's like, oh, so the water types are, like, super sensitive? Okay, let's make this really sad clown let's make Sobble. And it kind of worked. I mean, I'll even overlook the fact that his head is literally Mudkip's little head fin. That's fine. They can copy that all they want, because, like, he's clearly not in a good mental headspace, so give him his headpiece, it's fine. But, yeah, I don't know. I suspect I'm in the minority about all this because you don't care, and like within 20 to 30 minutes of all of it coming out, there's so much fan art already. They moved so fast, but
yeah, I don't know. They look fine to me. They all feel like they could all be really great.
Oh yeah, I think the potential's there. What are the odds that Grookey...
I mean, the only thing I'm asking is the fact that Scorbunny, like, probably my favorite would probably be between Scorbunny and Grookey.
Grookey's has potential.
I like Grookey just because, I don't know, he's kind of adorable, but I don't know, but I like Scorbunny's energy and confident look. I don't know, something about it just like resonates with me. But
oh, so you must have hated that I was tearing apart his design. Design.
No, because that's your opinion and it means nothing to me. So yeah.
Ooh.
But anyway, like, he has a Band-Aid on his face, like right above his nose. And my hope is like, okay, don't let that be that he likes to get into scuffles, which means that he's going to eventually turn into a firefighting. Because we've already had Incineroar firefighting, we've had Blaziken firefighting, we've had Grumpig firefighting. Thank Arceus that Incineroar was not firefighting. He's a wrestler, but at least they made him fire dark.
Yeah,
it's almost like they were about to become firefighting, but they're like, no, that's already 4. So
I think that's maybe where they Britishify all this, is the types can be relevant to the locale. So he can be fire,
and also think of it this way,
steel, or something weird. I mean, like, he can develop armor as he evolves, and that bandage is from when he was training before he had his. You know, I mean, like there's ways they can.
Like,
do it.
Honestly, these starters don't really tell us anything. Like, you would have never guessed that Litten would turn into a wrestler. Like, there's nothing about Litten that implies he would turn into a wrestler of all things, or that Rowlet would turn into an archer. So
Popplio most definitely turned into whatever it turned into. That, like, feminine. Like, that one was kind of
it was a mermaid, but yeah.
That one made sense compared to the others, yeah. But,
well, from a clown to a mermaid? I mean, she kind of loses the...
But she still had the performance...
aspect.
But she had the performance art thing. Yeah. She had, like, the elaborate gown and everything. The same
Rowlet and Litten were definitely kind of left... Because, I mean, he's like a little butler owl that becomes Robin Hood. I mean, I guess it's like from riches to rags. I don't know. It's like a reverse Robin Hood.
Yeah.
But, yeah... I guess we'll see. Maybe later on, once they evolve, they'll get your British motif, and you'll be like, "Oh, it all makes sense." Cause
I'm already warming up to Scorbunny again because it's Flambino. I'm not even Kane. That's all it took was just having that name. Like I think it was the name plus the design. Just like there's something missing.
I guess I'm leaning towards Grookey more now.
Well, I know I'm probably gonna do Sobble to be honest. Like he needs the moral support, so I'm there for it.
No, it's just the Gambino Association.
Oh well, hey, listen. I understand you don't like greatness, but like one thing I can do about it. But I will say. By the way, I bet your Grookey could evolve into some sort of like old man ape that has a staff. He already has the little thing in the back of his hair that could easily become a staff later on, or back of his head that could become a staff later on.
Old man monkey.
You know, like kind of like what's his name? Lion King.
Rafiki.
Like almost like that with a staff. Either that or a gorilla. Those are the two options. It won't be anything else. That's my guess. But I do think my concern... I feel like you were about to say something. No? I do think my concern with the three starters and like their similarities to existing Pokemon, at least in my mind, kind of embodies maybe the overarching thing about Sword and Shield that jumped out at me, even in just the brief footage we saw, which is that, like, in my opinion, it just screams playing it safe. And I use that in air quotes, like playing it safe. But everything's prettier, but they aren't really evolving the Pokemon formula. No pun intended. But like I feel like they could have.
But I feel like this is the trailer when we wouldn't get any of that.
That's true. But I mean, even little things. I don't necessarily mean I don't need them to go like full Breath of the Wild open world on us. But like, and to be fair, like Let's Go when it existed was probably the closest we're gonna get to a Breath of the Wild moment for Pokemon. I mean, it still exists, but you know what I mean, when it was the hot new one. But like, just. I don't know. This is the mainline core games console debut. Like, why not leverage the opportunity to do stuff a little differently? Just in terms of presentation, like, make the paths and routes physically less linear. Don't make them so boxed in. Like, give more of an actual open world feel. You can still have your system where you're going, like, piecemeal down routes, but, like, make it feel a little more open. Give camera movement freedom. You don't need the lock perspectives anymore. You have an HD console. You can scoot the camera behind the back, keep the gameplay, but just kind of tilt it down and make it feel a little more, like, different. I don't know. I think like the biggest whiff for me about this whole thing is they could have made it more of a living, breathing world. And this is something you can tell in the trailer because they're like, this is what the game looks like. It's not like this is an in development, unfinished version. They're saying, here's the first footage of how this game will be. And if anything, to me, it feels like it's actually regressing from Pokemon Let's Go in a number of ways. Like, I don't know if I'm necessarily not a fan or a fan of true random encounters coming back. But I thought that having Pokemon out in the world...
Technically, they never left because Let's Go isn't really a mainline game.
Well, okay, that's fair. But I'm not sure if I'm a fan of true random encounters existing now. When Let's Go... Like, having the Pokemon out in the world was a huge, I feel like, quality of life improvement for Let's Go because it let you somewhat selectively go after the Pokemon you want to go after. And it could still work fine without, carrying over the battling system. Like you can do, or the catching system. You can do the normal battle system that you would have in any mainline Pokemon game, but just have the Pokemon out and about. Like, it's not much different to be like, I'm walking up to him because I need a grind versus I'm going to walk in this grass endlessly and hope one pops up so I can grind. Like, it's ultimately the exact same gameplay goal. But like, at least if they had him out walking around, it just feels more alive. It feels more like a living, breathing world. Like, this feels sterile almost. Or, like, at the very least, let your primary Pokemon follow you around. Like, they did that in Yellow. They did in Let's Go. I don't know why they...
I mean, we don't know if that's not a thing yet.
But you would think it would be there. Like, it was in the first Let's Go footage. They're not seeing...
Yeah, but that's Let's Go's whole thing.
No, but my point is, like, they're not doing the thing they did with Sun and Moon where, like, here it is in development as we're working on it. They're like, this is what the game will be. It's a tease of what's to come, but this will be. So not having the Pokemon out in the world, not having someone follow you when they show you walking around.
The first Let's Go trailer was definitely like, here's pretty much everything you need to
know. No, the Sun and Moon. Did I say Let's Go?
Yeah, you did.
Sorry, I meant Sun and Moon. My point was, this wasn't like Sun and Moon, where it was like, this is very much in development. Here's some wireframes. This is very much a normal game reveal. So I would expect the things that would then be there, like letting Pokemon follow you or having Pokemon wandering around, would be there in the footage if that was their goal. But yeah, I don't know. It doesn't like.
It still feels too early to comment on that.
Maybe, but it seems like, well, definitely the Pokemon not walking in the wild is for sure not in there. That would be there if it was there.
And I mean, and just about other general changes, like, I mean, the fact that they didn't, I guess, change the camera perspective, or I guess make it more open. I mean, I guess that's just a taste-by-taste basis, but
it just feels like, I mean, they're minor things, don't get me wrong.
I mean, I feel like, I don't know, the game would have to be a different game for it to really, like, take advantage. Because, I mean, I feel like it's just going to go to waste. Like, you're going to be able to move the camera, but, like, so what? It's not like you could...
Well, I mean, they move it, like, from one angle to another. I mean, why don't they just lower it behind? Like, what I'm saying is there's no... Like, the game's just very by the books, which is not necessarily a knock against it. It's just on a console where all Nintendo's AAA franchises are trying these new ideas, like Breath of the Wild or Mario Odyssey, where they keep the spirit of the game but do something a little different. I feel like right now they've been signaling this is exactly the core Pokemon experience you would expect it to be. Nothing more, nothing less. Which, don't get me wrong, I understand why they're doing it. This is, after all, the traditional Pokemon game they promised to fans as kind of the counterbalance to Let's Go's announcement, so people won't feel left out. Like, they want this game not to split the fan base. They want this game to keep the fan base together. They don't want to upset any fans. I get why they're keeping it by the books. They want everyone on board here. But it just feels like, I don't know, maybe the innovation comes with Gen 9 or something, but it just feels like this was really the chance to jump forward in some sort of way. Even Sun and Moon feels like it jumped forward more if you look back at it now, and then this one kind of just like stepped back. I don't know, because gyms are back, and maybe it seems like maybe that's not even true. I don't know. I might be making a lot of assumptions, but something about it just felt like they weren't.
You're definitely making a lot of assumptions.
No. I'm just saying something about it just felt like they weren't doing. It felt like it was just an up-res handheld one when it could have been more, and that's not necessarily. Again, I get why. I honestly think probably the most interesting thing they're going to do is probably what you want, which is stuff involving battles. Like, we know nothing about the battle system. So that might be where stuff gets interesting.
I mean, that's probably why I'm very like, oh, it doesn't really matter if they do this or if they do that, because ultimately that's not what I play Pokemon for. Like, I play Pokemon for the battle. Like, literally, in Gen 4, it was such a huge deal that they introduced attacks that linger forever until you put another... Like Stone... Yeah, not even Stone Edge. It was Stealth Rock. That move single-handedly changed the way people build teams, because you send it out, and it's just these rocks that stay floating around your battlefield until you have someone do Rapid Spin or... What was it? Smog or something. Not Smog. Anyway, one of those moves. Yeah. And if you just don't have... And if you don't have any of those, then you're done. That's pretty much it. Because Stealth Rock will chip away, like, 12% of your health every time you switch into Pokemon. But if it's a Fire type, because that's a Rock type move, it'll literally take away a quarter of their health. Like, right off the bat. And if it's like a Fire Flying, then that's half their health automatically, which is huge. And then, you know, like, the next generations introduced like Mega Evolutions and Z moves, little things one at a time, but huge things, like, for battles and how you build them.
It's fine. The more you talk about
Alolan, like, it definitely, I don't know, it changed a lot of things. They made it that's always what kept me going back and then putting in like hundreds and hundreds of hours into these Pokemon games.
Because you don't care about the world or exploring it. You're out to the battle mechanics. I get that.
Yeah, and I mean, and I still enjoyed that. I mean, I have to go through it every time. I literally had to do it twice in Sun and Moon, because when I transferred from my my Excel to my new not Excel, like, it erased. But I mean, the game was fun enough. Like, I mean, I liked running around the island. Yeah, I liked that it was faster. Like, that I didn't have to go through as many gyms. It was just kind of like bam, 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 you're done.
You know what I'm starting to realize? It's like Let's Go and Sword and Shield are like the yin and yang of each other to us. Like, you were kind of whatever about Let's Go because it didn't do enough with the battling side of the series, but I loved it. And there's all the world building. I'm like, yeah, this is great. And now I'm kind of like whatever about many aspects of Sword and Shield, because it seems as if they're ignoring the things I care about. But you're sounding more excited because it's about the battles.
I mean, I'm definitely excited about the potential of Sword and Shield and what they're going to add to the battles this time.
Yeah. It's just funny how, like,
but the game is literally going like, we already gave you your game and let's go. Go play that.
Yeah, it is funny how, like, we're basically, like, everything that I couldn't understand why you didn't care about Let's Go is now probably how you...
And literally,
is now what's happening with Sword
and
Shield. Yeah. It's interesting because they're essentially, forking the franchise in terms of, like, do people prefer option A or
Yeah, because
option
to
B?
me, yeah, because like I was saying earlier to your point about the 3 hills, like I'm like, what's the point? It's like, why?
Yeah.
And I honestly prefer the random encounters. I just like them this way because then it allows. There's a lot of gameplay elements that they revolve around the fact that you can't see the Pokemon around there. Like they have chains. Like that's a whole little sub thing.
They have chains in Let's Go.
Really, they do? Oh wow!
If you I assume chains in the Let's Go sense are if you continue catching the same Pokemon over and over and over, stuff happens, right?
Yeah.
Like you get rewards essentially. Yes, they have chains.
Oh, okay. So that was one thing. But
yeah, because that could work just fine. You just see it. It's actually streamlined because you don't have to keep going like, is this the one? Nope. Okay, let me exit. Is this the one? Nope. Let me run away.
But if you're doing a chain, it's always going to be the same one. Like there's stuff they did like between lures and the Poke Radar and stuff like that made it so you're not really. If you're looking for something specific, you're going to find it easily.
Oh well, then same with when they're visible. That's like part of like the random. At least to me, the random encounter thing just feels almost unnecessary. Like everything you need random encounters for, you can do without them being random the same way because they still have to spawn. You're just seeing them the second before the battle instead of seeing them the second after the battle.
But this way, it felt more rewarding, I guess, when you found like a rarer Pokemon. I guess.
Well, I don't know.
Because then it's like, oh, there it is, as opposed to like, oh, I finally got it. Like, oh, is this it? It's like it keeps the suspense going up until the final moment. Assuming
I feel like it's just the final moment scooted to 10 seconds earlier, but it's still the same thing. You're walking around. Oh, there he is coming out of the bushes. That's not much different. And take it from me, who spent way too long in Viridian Forest trying to catch a Pikachu at the start of Let's Go. It's still pretty rewarding when finally it shows up. I think it was a Pikachu. It must have been a Pikachu. Yeah, because I have Eevee, so it had to be a Pikachu. Anyway, I do want to clarify. Like, I feel like I'm being super down and out. I'm still quite looking forward to this game, and I will probably buy it day one. Like, I didn't gush about the potential of British Pokemon for nothing. Like, I'm excited about where this could go. I wouldn't say I'm underwhelmed because the game looks to be doing a lot right from what we've seen. I just have these little things I feel like were missed opportunities, in my opinion, that they could have done more with. But it is early, maybe too early, so I'm definitely keeping an eye on it. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not like, oh, this is a swing and a miss. Like, it's still a hit. I just don't know if it's a grand slam. Is probably the best way to put it.
Well, I mean, no one knows.
Right.
How could we?
True. But I mean, like, the signs are suggesting it's not, in my opinion, but that's just me. Anyway, on the other hand, you know what Pokemon Project is absolutely killing it right now? At least in my opinion.
It's definitely not Detective Pikachu.
It's definitely Detective Pikachu. In my opinion. That's why I added that, because I knew you probably wouldn't feel the way. But, yeah, they put out a new trailer, and I don't know, it pretty much secured it as my most anticipated movie of the year, which I never thought I'd say about any video game movie, let alone a Pokemon one with realistic ones. But, like, I don't know. I think it's just how, like, well everything seems to translate to the big screen. I mean, not everything is pretty or cute. We kind of talked about this last time around, but, like, let's be honest. If you saw an Apom in real life, it wouldn't have the silly grin like it does in the game art. It would look absolutely ravenous like it does in the trailer. Like, they're doing it. It makes sense. And, yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like, I mean, you saw the trailer, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe you agree or disagree, but I felt like they got the right mix of tones in there. I mean, ignoring Pikachu saying hell, which was a little strange, I think they did like a great job of making it feel, watch this through line of my theme of this episode, they really made it feel like an inhabited Pokemon world. Apparently I just want to live in a Pokemon world.
I got that from the first trailer too. So
but this one has like, well, I'm not saying this one like...
But you're saying that this is like...
I'm saying it just shows it more. Yeah, because they like, there's little like... They have, like, the random shots, like, the Rhyme City police walking with their Growlithe, very much a nod to Officer Jenny. They have, like, a Machamp directing traffic. They have a little Easter egg, not really an Easter egg, but a nod. The Snorlax sleeping, and he's blocking the bike path, which is obviously a reference for those who have played the games. It's just, like, I don't know. It just feels like they did a really good job of, even more so than in the first one, of being like, hey, every single frame of this movie has Pokemon tucked away. Like in a weird way to me, it's cooler than the in-your-face, like, here comes Mewtwo stuff that they did at the end. Like, that's not to say I don't appreciate the more direct world building, too. Like, the split second of that Blastoise battling the horde of Gengars, or presumably it's like they're doing double team or something out right now. But it feels like exactly what I'd expect a Pokemon battle to translate to in real life. Like, it felt right. And then having it in an underground fight scenario just feels that much more realistic. Sort of like cockfights or dogfights, which is not to say that I condone cockfights or dogfights, but I'm just saying, like, Rhyme City, the whole idea is they banned Pokemon fighting. That's one of the things with Detective Pikachu, and it's kind of like, this is how it would go down, and it represented it well, and they had all sorts of neat little... I don't know. I think I may actually end up watching this movie twice because I'm going to be so distracted by all the Pokemon spotting and the little winks and nods that's going to take me away from the main story. And I guarantee, no matter how many times I see it, well, at least the first time, I'm going to be having the biggest grin on my face the whole movie. Like, even watching the trailer, I couldn't stop smiling about it. Smiling about it now, like, I don't know. It's going to completely fry my brain, this thing. It's just going to be, it's what, not to oversell it here, but it's literally the exact vision of what I thought, like, Pokemon in real life would be since I got into it when I was, like, 8.
They literally brought out the little Jason.
It really did. I'm not even kidding. And, like, I don't know. I mean, what you seem to be a little more grounded about this than me.
It's just another movie. That's pretty much it.
But you don't have any like affinity with it because of what it?
Because it's Pokemon.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Pokemon, but I mean, I'm not gonna get to battle when I watch this movie. So
that's true. You're mostly about the battles. Again, it goes back to the different approaches to Pokemon. I'm all about the world. And
I don't know. Honestly,
the mechanics.
I would have been more excited if it was like all animated. I think if it's because it's all CG, I mean because it's a live action hybrid, like yeah, it's cool. Yeah, the Pokemon like look as great as you would expect them to be in a live action world without like completely redoing their designs to the point that you don't recognize them.
Sure.
Like I can appreciate all that, but I don't know. I just feel neutral about it, I guess.
Well, let me ask you this.
If anything, watching the second trailer, like I mean, I didn't play Detective Pikachu, but I know enough about it that I pretty much know like, oh, there's like,
well, don't spoil anything for those who don't.
Well, I mean, it seems like the trailer already spoiled enough, but
all trailers do a little, but don't go all the way.
Especially for a movie that's supposed to be like a mystery, but I guess after seeing the second trailer, I guess it's more of just
well, it depends.
Comedy. I guess it's more of a backstory thing.
You can infer a few different directions they can go in with the mystery about his dad. There are like two.
Pikachu gave us a whole bunch of them.
No, I mean separate from that, and that. Mm-hmm. By the way, the writing's actually quite. Again, minus Pikachu saying hell, the writing's really on point. Like there were no repeated jokes in any of the footage they've released so far, and they're all actually pretty funny. Mr. Mime, I feel like, is gonna steal the show. Like it's surprisingly well done in that regard too. But no, what I was gonna say is there's the way they worded that about his dad and the hat and all that. There's multiple possibilities that they sort of leave open. You know what it's pointing to because you know what happens. But if you have no idea, there's at least 2 routes, maybe 3 that could go. Now, ideally, there'd be 10,000 and you'd have no idea going in, but they had to, all movie trailers are doing things a little now. So, but I do think, like, between the writing and just everything about it, like, I don't know, this could be the movie that bucks the trend of bad video game movies. Like, this could be the first genuinely good game movie that's, like, well received critically and by fans. I mean, besides my whole look at all the Pokemans meltdown that I've been kind of having here, like it just seems.
Well, we could definitely hope.
It seems like it's on track.
I mean, it definitely seems that way. Like whether I'm like crazy about it or not, it definitely looks like like an enjoyable movie.
And you know that obviously marketing's job is to make you go see a movie, but I feel like the fact that it's firing on so many cylinders so well, like they know they have a good product on their hands here. I mean, just like look at that Ryan Reynolds, what do they call it? The video he put out the day before the trailer, Becoming Pikachu or Outside the Actors Studio, whatever it is. We'll put a link up on the blog post for those who haven't seen it. But it's very Deadpool-esque in its meta humor. But they head-on address things that would be critiques of the movie if the movie wasn't good. You know, like Ryan Reynolds using his normal voice for Pikachu instead of like a different voice. The fact that they're months in advance sort of addressing that feels like they know they have a good movie, because you wouldn't point out the most obvious bad thing about the movie if the whole movie was bad, because it sets a bad tone. But if they're saying they can overcome that, that's good. And the fact they even got his wife involved, like Blake Lively's in the video too, that's kind of like they seem confident about it. So if you haven't watched that, watch that.
Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu has definitely grown on me a lot.
Yeah, and you know, actually, the ultimate vote of confidence is for something like this, and this was stuff that was reported a month or 2 ago, but we never really got to. They're already making plans for sequels and spin-offs before it's even out. Now, to be fair, this isn't 100% official yet, but Hollywood Reporter reported that...
How accurate are they?
What?
How accurate are they usually?
Hollywood Reporter is very accurate. They're a trade industry magazine. Usually they break news. So when they're saying this is basically true, but Warner Brothers hasn't commented. But Warner Brothers and Legendary are apparently making the sequel already. They have commissioned one of the writers of 22 Jump Street, which is promising, to handle the script. Interestingly, it's the same guy who wrote the upcoming Sonic the Hedgehog movie, which I want to use as a mark against him, but considering we know nothing about the Sonic movie except that Sonic looks weird, it's probably a little premature to do that. And I know this is ironic coming from me, the guy who spent 20 minutes overanalyzing a 2-minute trailer of Pokemon Sword and Shield, but nonetheless, I'm saying it's probably premature to say this guy can't write a movie. But, yeah, where things really get interesting. So that's one thing.
Also,
they're doing the
think,
sequel.
Best Picture?
For Pikachu? I don't
What category can it even go in? Like, can it even count as a...
Special effects.
Just special effects? Like, it can't even be in Best Animated?
If it's really good, it could be Best Adaptation.
That's true. There's an adaptation.
Adapted screenplay.
Yeah. Since it is one. So.
Yeah. You know what? I'm just going to say it now.
I would love it for
Best
it to
Pikachu.
win that at least.
Best Pikachu. Best Picture should go to Pikachu. Best Actor should go to Pikachu. Not Ryan Reynolds, like the actual CG fuzzy Pikachu. But, yes, I don't know. Like, the fact that they're doing a sequel is pretty promising. And then where things really get interesting, to kind of get back to what I was saying a second ago, is there's a separate rumor from a site called We Got This Covered that suggests there are 2 more live-action Pokemon also coming down the pipe. One will focus on
From Legendary?
From Legendary. One will focus on Mewtwo, which makes sense because he's turning into like a big bad in Detective Pikachu, at least based off the trailer. And to be clear, this is a different Mewtwo movie than Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution, which just got a trailer the other day. This would be something else. And then the other is one based on Red and Blue. But now that I mentioned Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution, that kind of came out of nowhere. We had 3 days of Pokemon trailers. It was like Tuesday was Detective Pikachu, Wednesday was Sword and Shield, and Thursday was Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution. It's the Japanese teaser. It's only about a minute long. But you were saying you kind of wish this was fully animated. Well, here's your fully animated Pokemon movie. Kind of.
Kind of, yeah.
What do you think of it? Like, I'm curious, as the animation guy.
This is literally the Link's Awakening remake of Pokemon.
They went with the toy aesthetic.
Yeah, the funny thing is that...
Or do you mean in terms of it's one-to-one?
Just it's a one-to-one.
Oh, and the toy aesthetic. The Ash and them look like little toys.
Like, there's nothing... So far, like, the trailer so far has been like a one-to-one recreation of what the original movie was.
Right.
Which on one hand, it's like, all right, cool. Like, I'd be lying if I didn't say, like, I've tried to imagine what this movie would look like with, like, in CG form, like, with modern technology. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a few scenes in there that I would love to see animated in CG. But then, on the other hand, it kind of falls into, the whole... If a movie is a one-to-one remake, then why even make it? Like, it feels kind of pointless. Kind of like...
So, the Disney live-action... mindset,
yeah.
or the
which is like
counter mindset,
which it can be done right. Like Disney, I'll give them a lot of credit for Maleficent. Like that one could have just been Beauty and the Beast or what looks like Lion King, where I know it's pretty much like a remake. Like everything is the same.
The trailer for Lion King is shot for shot.
Like no plot twist, no anything. Yeah. Like it's the same movie, but at least Maleficent like expanded on the story and even changed pretty big aspects of it to just make it significantly more interesting. Like, I actually really enjoyed the film.
By the way.
And it definitely stood its own. So I was kind of hoping, I don't know, maybe they'll do something similar. Well, they can't do something similar to this one. The game, the story of that Mewtwo, I guess, is already kind of set in stone, but...
But how they go about getting to that story can vary.
Yeah.
By the way, we're a little hard on Lion King. It will have an entirely new song, for the record.
I'm sure it's probably that.
For the record, I'm full of these horrible unintentional puns today. Oh my god.
It's probably some deleted song that never made it into the original.
No, I think it's a new one. They got Beyonce to write or something like that. But it is a new one.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Oh, no wonder you don't like the new Lion King. It also has Childish Gambino. Everything that Childish Gambino touches turns to not gold. Everything he's touched, the light is his. Yeah. Anyway, anything light touches, you're kicking him. Yeah.
So yeah, like I'm definitely gonna check it out. I'm actually more interested in that one than Detective Pikachu for sure, just for what it could mean for these kind of movies. Because, like, if they're going to remake all these Disney movies, which they are, and they were not going to stop, obviously, I would prefer to see them, like, with, like, CG animation, like, with what they did with Wreck-It Ralph. And those movies, like, they just look, the CG in movies just keep looking more and more amazing. So I'm all like, whoa, like, I would love to see how these old movies would look like with that technology.
I assume you mean stylized CG, because Lion King is about 95% CG. So you mean like stylized, like animated art?
Well, I was mainly referring to these like live action ones. I mean,
no, like Lion King, they're claiming is live action, but none of the animals are real.
No, I know that's
and they're the only thing in it.
That's just photorealism. That's not.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you want stylized animation, not just CG, because that is Lion King. You want stylized.
Yeah, but
right.
Lion King's an outlier because it's like the only one that's all CG right now.
That's true. Yeah.
Like
Jungle Book was almost all CG.
I know, yeah. I know. I'm speaking in general. Like the majority of them are live action, so I'm just gonna do that.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
And now I lost my train of thought. Thanks, Eugene. Thanks.
Did you just call you Eugene?
Thanks, Jace. Thanks.
Oh, I thought you said Eugene. I'm like, we've been doing this for how many years and you don't know my name? No, but you're saying about you'd rather see it be animated over live action, be stylized, and use the modern technology to create a new look.
But then at that point too, like, I don't know, like same thing with now like going back to the Lion King, they're James Earl Jones is reprising his role.
Yeah.
Which to me feels like even more of a like why at that point like just if you're gonna change so much of it, just change everything. Because at that point it almost feels almost kind of like disrespectful to the original artist. Like that's kind of why like I've never been fully in favor. Like as pipe dreams, I would love to see like certain CG animated remakes, like stylized CG animated remakes, like cartoony, of like the old Disney films, just like parts of them or maybe whole movies. But but like as a fan project or something like that, I wouldn't want it to be done like for profit because it feels like it just feels like a disrespectful move to the original animators that did it.
There's definitely a vibe,
especially if it's like a 1-to-1, kind of like this Pokemon one, because it's like they did all this work and it still holds up to this day. But especially if they try to reprise some of the roles too, then it's even more like, why?
There's definitely an element with the Disney ones and probably with the Pokemon ones of we can go after two markets this way. Kids, it'll be something new. Parents, it'll be them, or adults that don't have kids, they'll be like, how's this compare to the original? I should go see it and find out. So they actually are like double dipping on the audience instead of just having, you know what I mean? Like they're gonna get a bunch of laps. It's literally Nintendo's lapsed gamer approach with the Switch, but to movies.
I mean, it's literally it. And I mean, it's the same reason we keep getting like reboots, remakes, and everything every couple of years. It's like, well, let's get the kids. Like these kids haven't seen this version yet, and we don't want to show them that old one.
Right.
That's gonna look dated.
Yep.
I mean, I get the practice, and I mean, you just speak with your wallet. I mean, they can exist. I mean, I haven't seen the majority of the live action
neither have I
Disney movies, and I don't really plan to. And I only really saw Maleficent because it was in a bus ride between states and Mexico when I was over there.
The funny thing is, to bring this back to the Pokemon stuff, the other rumored new movie that Legendary is apparently making is a live action retelling of an existing thing. They are going to be adapting Red and Blue, potentially in ways that mirror the Pokemon Origins anime miniseries. So basically what you're describing, but on a slightly smaller scale. Like the exact same problem, the exact same idea. I mean, it's a more interesting one and perhaps more outlandish
that one has
of the
more
rumors.
For creativity, because I mean, we just had the games, and then the anime isn't even close to what the games, like 100%. Like there's...
My concern is that movie versus something like Detective Pikachu's proper is going to fall into the trap that most video game movies fall into, which is when you stay close to the core source material, it doesn't really work because that material is built for a game. So maybe if they do it off the anime, it will work a little better. But I think one of the reasons Detective Pikachu works as well as it does is because it's not trying to check the boxes of the Pokemon series as we know it. Like, it's not trying to hit all the points that a Pokemon game hits. It's taking a spin-off that was narrative driven and is like, sweet, let's just use that narrative. Done.
Well, that's like,
if they do it off the anime, you're right. It might be okay. If they do it off the games, the rumor's saying the games, which also inspired the anime, is what's inspiring this. So I don't know if they mean they're going to riff off the anime or the game.
They're going to look at the anime, the games, and even the manga. Like, the manga would probably be a good place to look just because
that's true.
It pretty much follows the game more closely than the anime.
Yeah, the whole Pokemon Adventure series.
Yeah, the Adventure series, yeah. And, I mean, I feel like, not to give them any cash grabby ideas, but I feel like if they're going to do this, it would probably have to be a trilogy or something, because to squeeze in literally going from Pilot Town to the Elite Four in one movie, it's just
assuming they even do that.
Assuming they even do that. Like, assuming this is going to happen, like, if it's going to be one movie, they would have to do that, and which means just a ton of montages. We're going to just, like, at one point we're probably going to see, it's going to take like 40 minutes for him to get like the first 2 badges, and then the next 6, it's just going to be one long montage.
So what you're saying is this could be Bohemian Rhapsody, but instead of Queen music, it'll be Ash earning badges. Because Bohemian Rhapsody is the most shallow 2-hour long montage I've ever seen.
I love how it's like...
So I imagine it's going to be like that.
We need a song that will get the people invested. Then they do like the 2 beats, and then it's them playing it professionally.
Already. Yep, that's how music writing works. It's just like, hey, I have an idea for a song. It'll go ba-da-da, and then suddenly there's a whole rock band playing my ba-da-da with lyrics. instantly. That's how it always works.
It kind of reminds me of a skit from Robot Chicken. That's one of my favorites that they've ever done. It's called you pretty much sign up for a subscription called Just the Good Parts, where you watch a movie and it just skips to just
the good parts. Yeah.
And so I'll just skip around to like just the good parts. So that Bohemian Rhapsody just kind of reminds me of wow, they just skip a lot of what you would imagine would be like trial and error, some like more movie, but then it just skips to, you know, the Queen soundtrack.
Yeah, literally. Or they just recreate Live Aid for 20 minutes. It's like, I could watch this on YouTube with Freddie Mercury. Like, Rami Malek's great, but I could watch it with Freddie Mercury proper. Like,
I didn't realize the movie was also that panned, but they showed, like, Peter Jackson's King Kong, and then it just skipped to the credits, because that was... Like,
yeah, it was a very slow movie. Like, for a movie about a giant ape that tears apart a place, like, it's like, wow, this is like molasses.
I watched it when it came out, and
it was like,
I don't know, maybe I was just a very patient person, but it felt fine to me.
No, like I don't mind slow-paced movies, but it's just like we all know where this is going. Like you don't need to spend that long. Like we're still on the boat in the ocean. Like the boat's gonna tip over. We're not gonna make it to land with King Kong. Except obviously you are, because the whole set piece is coming up still. Like you don't need to spend that long. Anyway, the other thing that's interesting about the Pokemon rumor, if they were to do that, and you're saying about a trilogy, is
well, yeah, it has to be a trilogy.
Well, there's this
Find a plot, get the through line.
There's this line in the report that kind of caught my eye. Legendary's hope, though, is that they can use the movie as a springboard towards launching a cinematic universe of live-action Pokemon movies. And I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Try to be Marvel.
Like, I'm not confident how that's going to turn out. I think a huge part of what makes Detective Pikachu work is as Pokemon as we've kind of never really seen it, on, like, at least most people, on the big screen for the first time. Like, they can do sequels. They can do Mewtwo prequels. That makes sense because it's kind of sticking to that. But what happens, like...
You know, the Squirtle Squad are going to get their own movie.
I'm just trying to think about how this would work.
Squirtle Squad is going to get a Netflix-only show. And that's going to be
like... It gets
their...
canceled and moved to Disney+. Plus.
That's going to be like their Defenders equivalent.
Yeah.
There's going to be like a whole bunch of them.
It's just, actually, I would watch it. I would watch that.
No. It's going to be 5 different Squirtle that each have their own show, and then the Squirtle Squad is going to be that show that brings them all the
together. Dialogue is just Squirtle Squirt. I would actually...
It's going to be subtitled, yeah, with like English.
I won't lie. I would watch that. But no, my concern is like, if you do sequels or Mewtwo prequels or whatever, like that can work because you have the story hooks. Like the stories are hooked in you already. Like people are like, oh, that Mewtwo I saw in Detective Pikachu. Yes, what's his backstory? What happens next to Tim and Pikachu? Like what's next for their adventures? And at least a large portion of the audience will be on board with that deeper lore, right? Like not all of them, but some of them. But launching an entirely separate series of stories, like they don't have a single connecting thread. There's no Avengers initiative in Pokemon. There's no Thanos equivalent in Pokemon. Like there's a reason I feel like Universal's Dark Universe monster movie idea failed already, and that DC had to backpedal on a full DC extended universe, and now does kind of this like interesting thing where some of the movies are very loosely connected, but they're also their own things. If they did that for Pokemon, maybe, but I don't see how they can make Red and Blue into a movie and then have it match up with Detective Pikachu and not have it feel super contrived and fake. Like it doesn't. I don't know.
They're gonna have their own Avengers, and their Thanos is gonna be Deoxys because he's the alien. Deoxys is gonna win at the end. Half the Pokemon are gonna die, and they'll say like Deoxys will return.
Oh, can you imagine? Can you imagine? Like, I don't want that necessarily at all. I don't think so. It's interesting that there
could easily be some of those. I mean, there are Pokemon that literally control the flow of time, and then there's a Pokemon that controls space.
We're not gonna have a Pokemon Infinity Gauntlet.
I mean, they're basically out there already. If you collect those, if you control those, like it's literally gonna be this dude that has to go out and capture those specific legendaries. So he pretty much controls. Like, if he gets Groudon, he controls literally the Earth, like the continent. If he gets Kyogre, he controls the ocean.
And what? There's a character named Zocket Zigzagoon? Like, I don't understand. like how does this? How close are they gonna go here? Is there gonna be like a Wakanda equivalent? Like, I don't know. Johto Forever? Like, I don't understand. Like, how's this work? It just
doesn't.
It's
not our job to figure that out. So.
Oh, hopefully it's not their job either, and they realize that a true connected universe won't work. But they could do like loose ones, sure. Like they just do different.
Unless
movies.
they do like literally just like they're just going through different regions, and they're just that's as much of a cinematic universe as you can get. Like maybe the previous champion might turn up later to battle the current like protagonist or something. But that'd be that's the best. Literally, pretty much just like the adventure series, because the adventure series just goes game to game. And they're all still connected. Like, sometimes you get cameos of the previous characters.
And, you know, honestly, let's not put the cart before the horse here. They've been doing this, essentially, for 20-plus years with the Pokemon TV show. And Ash has yet to win anything. Can Ash just win something before they start making a separate, competing, and never-ending story?
He's the Orange Island champion.
Okay, that doesn't count. That's not a thing, and that's not a... Right, and then Tracy takes photos. Okay. Or sketches, or whatever it is he does. He sketches. Wow. He doesn't take photos. Don't get me wrong. I love the Orange Island ones when I watched it, but looking back, I'm like,
that was you forget Todd.
His name was Tracy. Oh, yeah, Todd did the photos. Tracy. Wow. You know, for a guy who's saying so many puns today, I didn't connect Tracy with the guy that traces. Wow. I didn't realize that my entire life till now. Well, anyway, you know what's funny about this idea of, like, video games properties spreading into other directions and becoming extended universes? Around the same time that this Pokemon thing popped up, this one I think might potentially be relevant to your interests. Deadline, who is a very reliable Hollywood trade site, they reported that Netflix is doing something similar to Resident Evil now. Apparently...
Resident Evil Extended Universe?
Kind of. Constantine Film, which is the company behind the Resident Evil movies and has the rights to it, wants to create a TV series.
Wait, which one? The live-action ones or the CG ones?
The live-action ones, but none of the people involved with the live-action. They're the rights holder. That's it.
Okay.
But so that wrapped up. Paul W.S. Anderson did the final chapter, and that's done. But now they want to make a TV show that dives deeper into the lore of, like, the going-ons within Umbrella Corp as the T-virus outbreak occurs and how it's shaping the world and how they, as a company, like, handle that. So they're going to be doing they're hoping to do a show about that and then potentially tie it into reboots of the movies. So given how much you, specifically you, Angel, talked up Resident Evil last episode, like, what are your thoughts? Is this something that would interest you? Like, what do you need it to be? What's your dream Resident Evil, like, show? Because they're literally starting from scratch, but they want to do the whole shebang. So how do they do it?
I thought about this, and honestly... if they're making it, it's because they feel like there's money to be had. But I personally, as someone that already consumes Resident Evil,
right?
I feel like I don't need a TV show because the current games, at least like Resident Evil 2, like this newest one, like it's pretty cinematic and it just does a really good job of just telling you the story. That, I mean, you get so much more info from the game than you ever could from a TV show. Like, there's just so much, like, you know, like, even without the stuff that
bold claim. Well, no, I don't mean, I'm not like, I'm just like, that's a bold claim.
It's not even a bold claim. It's like, I mean, have you seen Skyrim? They have, like, actual books with 300 pages and then you can actually read.
Okay, that's fair, yeah.
They have the whole library. Someone actually, I forgot his name from Polygon. He actually read every single book.
Oh, no. How long did it take him?
I forgot, but he wasted a lot of
paper. Is it the guy that did the 15-minute Sonic backstory?
Yeah, the Bible thing or whatever.
Yeah. That guy's actually pretty funny. I forgot his name, but he's pretty funny.
Yeah, poor him and all the time he spent reading all those books. There's actually like an equivalent of 50 Shades of Grey in Skyrim.
No.
Yeah, I forgot.
Does it involve taking arrows to the knee? That's that series, right? That's the reference to that. I think. Isn't it? Isn't that?
Yeah, but anyway, I mean, but yeah, like in Resident Evil, like, I mean, the story they're trying to tell, like, you know, how Umbrella got into what they were doing. Yeah. But besides that, I mean, there's like extra video logs. There's like letters.
Oh, okay, that's what you're saying.
There's like, I mean, there's like,
it's like the Metroid Prime scanning back in the day.
Yeah,
yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. The story was just told so well that I feel like you could literally cut out like the gameplay bits or edit them in a way, and you would have like a movie, like a legitimate movie.
Which is interesting because, like,
especially nowadays, like, I mean, you wouldn't really be able to do that before, but just because of the way games are made now, and just because they tend to be more cinematic, especially during cutscenes.
Oh, totally.
Like, you wouldn't be like, it wouldn't be incorrect for you to mistake it for like a CG TV show or something, or even a CG movie.
Maybe that's the route to go. It is interesting though that, like,
but I would, if it was going to be made, which it sounds like it is. Yeah. I mean, I'd rather it be a CG, like the CG movies they had. Those are really cool.
Did Capcom make those?
I want to say they did.
Or did they, like, it obviously wasn't these guys. It wasn't whatever their name was, Constantine.
I don't remember who made them, but those were definitely, I mean, if anything, those were the in-universe movies compared to the live-action one. Because the live-action ones pretty much just took inspiration from Resident Evil.
Yeah, and ran with it.
And it took, like, some characters, and they made up their own story.
Yeah, it's always
like there's no
me...
Mila Djokovic character in Resident Evil.
Right. It did always strike me as interesting
but the
how...
games had, I mean, they had Leon, they had like a lot of the main faces.
It did always strike me interesting how Capcom has been so hands-off with Resident Evil across other media. Like Pokemon Company, you know, like look at Detective Pikachu. You could tell Pokemon Company has their hands all over. Like it's incredibly on point, so to speak. But then you have, as you point out, like Paul W.S. Anderson just running wild with Resident Evil. And Resident Evil movies do fine. They together made like $1.2 billion. So it seems like maybe if Capcom was a little more hands-on and did CG, it could be something that would interest the people that have bought the 90 million Resident Evil games that have been sold. That's a new stat that just came out last week, or the other day even. Capcom has sold 90 million Resident Evil games. Whoa. So I think to your point, there's an appetite there for making something that's a little closer to the games, possibly, because a lot of people, and maybe that will then entice people that like the Anderson works prior to that. I don't know, but are you finding who?
Yeah, I was looking for. It's funny because I typed Resident Evil movies and there's like no mention of the CG ones. So I had to type Resident Evil movies animated and it's like, oh, there they are.
So is it commissioned by Capcom or did they hand that one off too?
Well, I mean, I just found those. So.
Well, I need answers now, right now. Listen, look, time's a ticking. We have people listening. I'm killing dead air right now by just repeating things.
It doesn't look like it says. I just see like director Makoto Kamiya, not the same Kamiya.
Right. Yeah, I assume it's not the same one as Platinum.
Yeah. No.
Huh. Well, I guess we'll see where this goes. But
produced by 15 different people.
Is one of them just Mr. Capcom, or like Mega Man? First name Mega, last name Man.
Oh, yeah,
Dr. Light.
Yeah, there it is.
Dr. Wily.
Anyway, you were saying?
Yeah. No, I was saying it'll be interesting to see what happens with Resident Evil, which in and of itself is a tangent from our Pokemon conversation, which was a dominant thing in the news. What?
Just because, like, before I forget, because this was just an interesting tidbit that I learned, I don't even know from where, but before the first Resident Evil live-action movie came out, Capcom was such a huge fan of George Romero that they had him write the original script, but I guess they didn't like it, and they got rid of it.
It was too...
Now I want to know, like...
It was too much, I think, for Capcom.
And apparently, like, George Romero, like, was really into the Resident Evil games. Even though he didn't play them, he had someone play them for him, and he would literally watch the entire games being played and just take notes.
I believe that.
So I really want to see that script. Like, I hope it's somewhere on the internet.
You never know. That it could resurface with this new project. Like, that's the kind of interesting thing about them rebooting Resident Evil as a show and movie, or at least as a show, or at least as a movie, is, like, everything's on the table again. Everything that's changed in video game movies, everything they've learned from the evolution of the franchise, or not learned, and then can learn from the mistakes of, like, there's a lot of opportunity here. And I think, to bring it back to Pokemon, I think Detective Pikachu is perhaps the first byproduct of people actually looking at the legacy of video game movies and looking at what it takes to make it not the movie based on a game, but a movie that is a companion piece to the game where people will actually be able to enjoy it equally but differently. You know what I mean? Like, instead of being like, oh, the gamers like this, how do we make it appeal to non-gamers? It's like, here's how you actually do things that can be eaten up by everyone. Potentially. I'm really raising them on a pedestal here with Resident Evil, so we'll see. Who knows? But outside of Pokemon, what I was trying to say is there was one other bit of news about Nintendo juggernaut of a very different kind, and that was Reggie. So, as I'm sure anyone, this is quite the hard pivot here, but as I'm sure anyone who is listening to this show or has listened to us in the past knows, Mr. Fils-Aime has announced that he's retiring after 15 years at Nintendo of America, 13 of which he was president. And Nintendo put out this really nice video message. It was him thanking fans and discussing his time at the company. And it made me realize something kind of interesting about Reggie that I wanted to share, which is that, yes, of course, he had a major role at Nintendo and made a huge impact on the business side. I mean, you can just look at his efforts spearheading DS and Wii in the West. Like, the way he was able to market the message of those systems so clearly and appeal so much to non-gamers really shows his business talent, at least. But what I'm really talking about, what I'm really interested in, what I kind of noticed, is how intertwined he became with Nintendo as an entity. Like, Reggie was Nintendo. Nintendo was Reggie. I mean, think back to that E3 he popped up at in, 2004? His very first E3 with the whole, my name is Reggie, I'm about kicking ass, I'm about taking names, we're about making games. Like, that Nintendo perfectly paired that with his like whole, they had that like guns a-blazing attitude of his, and then they were dropping bombshell after bombshell at that press conference. It was them back with a vengeance. And the DS.
Was that when the DS?
Is the DS. It was the infamous first trailer for Twilight Princess where people were crying because real Zelda's back. Like, all that was one conference. It was the first teases of Revolution, which then became Wii, obviously. Like, all of that was that one conference, and it was Reggie coming out saying, I'm kicking ass, I'm taking names. He apparently didn't even want to say that.
Really?
He was convincing us he should say that. And the thing is, like, that moment did something else besides just Nintendo's bravado that I think really changed Nintendo forever and how we view the company. And that is Reggie instantly had a cult of personality around him. Before that, there were people like Miyamoto and Yamauchi, the old president of Nintendo, and whoever. And they did interviews, and they're kind of around, but they weren't really like public figureheads in a way. Like, Nintendo didn't have like a public face in a way. And they certainly didn't have anyone that would like generate memes in the way that Reggie did. And as that continued with each new thing that Reggie did or said, intentional or not, my body is ready, I feel like a big purple Pikmin, what have you. Like, every time he did that, I think Nintendo realized this is a very effective way to connect with fans. Like, some of it, I'd argue, was just lucky timing. The internet's meme culture kind of rose up with social media in a way it never really had before. And Reggie was right there for the ride at the same time. But like, look at how they started doing weird little things with Iwata shortly after that, or having Miyamoto and other developers dressed up, or like how even when the NCL presidencies changed to Kimishima and now to Furukawa, how like people were looking to make memes of these guys. Like, there's that picture of Kimishima with a stern face, and like, oh, he's clearly an angry person because we're gonna make it look like he's the Terminator or something. It's like they're just trying to make memes because like that's what we do now as Nintendo fans. We embrace the people of the company, and I think a lot of this goes back to Reggie as kind of like the forefather of it all, as unintentional as it may have been. And besides like just his business acumen, I think that this whole thing about him sort of becoming like a figurehead and making memes, that's weirdly what I think I might miss about Reggie the most. Because he didn't just generate like a fan culture, he embraced it, and that's what was cool about it. Like, he played along. He got it. They did stuff like the E3 Direct with Robot Chicken, you mentioned them earlier, where they animated him and they had him threatening people by shooting lasers out of his eyes when they brought up Mother 3, or like...
When I shot him with fireballs.
Yeah, that's right. Or there was he also had lasers in his eyes in that same conference, but I don't think it was from Mother 3, yeah.
That was from the...
Oh, that's Fils-Aime. Yeah,
that was
Fils-Aime from the Smash Invitational announcement.
That was a Mega 64 thing.
Yeah, that's right. It was Mega 64. But they had that. They had the year they became Muppet. He became a Muppet. They had like even little things like him trash talking Hungrybox at Smash Invitational, or like on much smaller scale, Jeff Keighley and him used to do ongoing interviews on GTTV when that was still on Spike, where like it was this interesting weird little banter where they kind of be ribbing each other and kind of like sort of seriously but sort of jokingly, like always trying to one up each other, and they did all these gaming competitions. Like, all of that stuff only works because Reggie was the type of guy who'd be game to do that stuff. And a lot of it was cheesy, some of it was a bit cringy, but you could tell he like genuinely appreciated the fan culture and made all the engagement they had with him kind of a two-way street and gave back to them. And that was something you don't see very often. Like, even when he let his PR guard down a bit, like when he did, there's a Nintendo Minute last year where he was reminiscing with Kit and Krista about the whole rollout for Smash Bros. Ultimate, from the first tease to the final release, and was really just candidly talking about the experience and what it was like on his side. Like, that was kind of cool that you wouldn't really see a lot of execs do. Or like the Game Awards, he spoke about Iwata after he passed, and he held it together, but there's like a little twinge of emotion there that you could see, and it just shows that he really does care about the gaming world and is passionate about it, and more specifically the Nintendo fan community. And I think that I know I'm like going on and on, but I honestly think that's why his retirement was met with such a huge outpouring of kind words and affection, because like, he obviously achieved great things on the business side, but you don't become Twitter's worldwide #1 trending topic and get The Rock to tweet about you and your success. You don't have a video that has 6.6 million views last I checked, just saying you're leaving, and go on to have one of, if not the most retweeted and liked tweets ever on Nintendo America's account. Like, you don't do that stuff if you're just good at business. You earn that by going above and beyond. You earn that by having a connection with the fans and kind of having that back and forth in that two-way street, and that's what Reggie did. And I think that is why it was such a big deal. It is such a big deal he's leaving, because there's no way that you can think of any Nintendo event of note since 2004 and Reggie's not somehow tied to that.
Pretty young to be retiring too, right?
Yeah, well, hey, he has a bunch of money. Why not? He's doing well. And, I mean, it also helps that the dude's legitimately nice. Like, we had the privilege of meeting him. I've met him twice. He met him once, right? With me, I think.
Yeah.
And, yeah, like, he, in both instances, went out of his way to say hi and let us take a photo. I mean, one of them, anyone who's a long-time listener has heard these stories, but for those who maybe haven't, the first time we met him was at the Holy Trinity Day, right?
That's when everyone was there.
Yeah, so we were...
Everyone is here.
Everyone is here. We were outside the now Microsoft Theater, then Nokia Theater, and they were coming out the stage door, and they were like, it was Reggie, Miyamoto, and Iwata, and they were crossing the street Abbey Road style, like single file, and I was an idiot and didn't take a photo, and it still haunts me to this day. But, and they, they kind of acknowledged us, and they had places to go or whatever, and then Reggie actually like peeled off and came over, was like, said hi, and basically like, hey, I only have a second, but hey, and then you got a photo with him.
Yeah, on my 3DS.
Yeah, on your 3DS, because you're that dedicated of a fan. But no, it's like he didn't have to do that. The other two were like, they kind of gave us a wave and acknowledged us, but they had places to go. And Reggie's like, nah, I'm going to say hi to these guys. And then the second time I met him was at E3 a couple years later, in E3. I must have told the story in the podcast. This is the most weird. So the back of E3 has a restroom that's very close to Nintendo's booth. And the weird thing about this restroom is you go in the door, and it's not actually the restroom. It is a staircase to another door where the restroom is. And I was coming down that staircase, and Reggie was coming up that staircase. And I was like, well, I need to say hi to Reggie. And I asked him if we could take a photo, not thinking it's in the bathroom, but it's also not in the bathroom. It kind of is, and it kind of isn't. So it was a little weird in retrospect. But I was like, hey, can I get a photo? And he kind of like, I realized pretty quick that I was asking a weird place. I'm like, I mean, like, not here. That's weird. Like, out, I don't know. And he was kind of like, we'll see. Maybe, yeah, wait till I'm back outside and we'll see. He was nice enough, but it's definitely awkward. And then I get outside, so I'm like waiting. And I'm like, wait, this is dumb. I'm not gonna wait. Like, why would I wait? Like, that's, who knows how long I'll be in the bathroom. Like, that's weird to be just like waiting. So I get out my phone to figure out where whoever I'm hanging out with is. And then I'm starting to walk away. Like, I'm a couple feet from, I'm a little beyond the bathroom now. And then I just hear him behind me go, so we're taking the photo? And he actually, like, he didn't just, like, go, oh, good, he's not paying attention, I'm just going to slip away. He actually came over and made sure we took the photo. And then we took the photo, and he weirdly, like, we took the selfie. And I was like, cool, thanks, kind of, like, I took the photo. The flash went off. Or not the flash, the shutter. And I was just like, okay, I think the photo's done. So I started like lowering my hand, and he was still standing there posed, ready for more of them. I'm like, I'm good. Thanks, Reggie. But like, it was like, he was very much like, okay, this guy wants a photo. I'm going to give him my full attention. We're going to take the photo. I will hunt him down, even though his back is now turned and he's clearly walking away.
I'm going to make him regret asking.
Yeah, but it was like, and it was cool. And he, I think that was the year, that might have been the year of Breath of the Wild demo. So, I was talking about Breath of the Wild for a minute, and yeah, he was very nice. It was a weird way to meet him in a more proper setting than when we met him. Or in a less proper setting, in a way, than when we met him outside a couple years prior. But yeah, it's just like, that's the type of guy he was. Like, he didn't have to do that, but he did. And it was very nice. So, I don't know if you have anything you want to add about Reggie. I feel like we're doing a eulogy for a guy who isn't dead. But, like, he really, in a way, it's like he's dying in the Nintendo world, sort of. So.
Not too much. I mean, he was friendly the first time I met him. Only time I met him. Other than that, I mean, I did enjoy seeing him on Nintendo Directs. He was very cold. I don't know. Some of his cold deliveries were I just thought were amusing.
Yeah, he has a very interesting delivery style where, like, it's both, like, very good and also kind of not. Like, it's hard to...
It's like, I don't know, I get a very... I mean, kind of going back to his that one quote, like, not my problem. Like, everything he says kind of, like, has that hint to it where it's like... This is, like,
sass.
So, like, this is what we're announcing. You could take it or leave it. I don't care. This is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it.
And I mean, for most of the time, he's right. Most of the time, Nintendo announced stuff, it was huge. There were exceptions. The year that Animal Crossing City Folk was their big holiday game, he's like, no, everyone will love it. This is their big holiday game. He later on was like, okay, maybe it wasn't a big holiday game. Or like the Wii U, that whole thing. He's been candid about that. But yeah, for the most part, his attitude of, hey, this is what we're doing, trust me, has been right. Gotta give him credit. So here's my dream of what happens next. Reggie is at Nintendo until April 15th. I believe...
Oh, so he's not retired.
I believe it's April 15th. Let's let him have one more announcement. assuming the reports of a Switch Mini are true, or a Switch Pocket as I like to call it, let's let him reveal it. He loves doing that thing where he gets on stage or goes in a direct and pulls a little device out of his inner jacket pocket, right? Like he's done that like a dozen times. Let him one last time pull out now the Switch Mini, and then let him just ride off into the sunset. He kicked the asses, he took the names, he made the games. Just let him go. Let him be free to roam in the pastures of wherever he is. And then, now let's fast forward a few years, and oh neat, look at that. Reggie wrote a tell-all book all about his time at Nintendo. How cool would that be? It's about the memes. It's about the ups and downs of the Wii to the Wii U to the Switch. It's about, like, everything. That would be great. Now, obviously, this is not going to happen. There's no way he's writing a book that spills all the secrets. But like I said, this is my dream of what happens next. So he announces his Switch Mini. He literally gallops off into the sunset on Epona on the spot. Like, he puts the Switch Mini on the floor, gets on a horse, and leaves. And then 3 years later, he has a book. That's my dream.
Yeah, actually, I already started writing an excerpt of that book, believe it or not.
Oh, right, yeah. Would you like to do it? You have a small sampling. I forgot about this.
Yeah, the funny thing is that...
yours is a very different angle than mine.
Yeah, this was... I don't know, for some reason, when I first heard his retirement, the first thing I did was just...
write a fan fiction.
Yeah, just write like a very short fan fiction of what I imagined his last day would be, and I just sent it to Jason. That was just kind of like... my reaction to him retiring was just to write a quick little fan fiction of like the first thing that came to my mind.
The funny thing is, like, when I texted you, Reggie's retiring, like, exclamation mark.
Yeah, that was literally my reply.
I was like, oh, that's weird. I know you're free right now. Why are you not answering? Is it, you must be taking this hard. And then, like, 45 minutes later, I get back, like, a paragraph. I'm like, what? And it's actually, well, share it with the class.
I mean, this was literally while I was at work. So.
Well, yeah. I'm not saying you wrote 45 minutes. I'm just saying that, like, I didn't expect that to be the response, but it was pretty perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it's rough, but
it's good. It's quality.
So
dramatic reading.
It's the last first. So it's his last day of work.
This is a first Around Town podcast, by the way, an actual dramatic reading.
This has not been proved for grammatical errors. Just FYI.
It's from the heart. It doesn't need to be. I couldn't say that with a straight face. Go ahead.
It's 6 p.m. Normally that wouldn't mean much, but today was special. Today was his last day. As he grabs his Master Sword replica, the object he saved for last, he made one last glance around the office. As he approaches the front door, he hears someone call out to him, "Reggie, wait!" It was good old Bill. He will definitely miss seeing him regularly. Before you go, for old time's sake, would you mind looking this over? Just to see if it's okay. Reggie looks at Bill and smirks. Then he begins to shrug. Not my problem. He then continues out the door, ready to begin a new game. The end. Not My Problem was later nominated for Best Picture and won.
I was trying so hard not to laugh during all that. The best part is that Not My Problem won Best Picture. Wait, is it up against Detective Pikachu? It's the same year.
No, this is going to be a 2020 picture.
Oh, because it's a book and it has to become a film.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, okay,
yeah.
So there's a little time. That's pretty good. And you even integrate a meme. What quality. No, but here's what actually is going to happen. Like, realistically, we're not getting him on Epona. We're not getting him Not My Probleming his way out of the office, although that'd be great. What's actually going to happen is Doug Bowser, Reggie's replacement, is going to do a great job taking over NOA. Honestly, I think that. He's currently the VP of Sales and Marketing. He's the man behind the Switches.
Better to take over anything.
I know, and he's the man behind the Switch marketing. He truly seems to get it. So he's going to be dandy. And the memes are going to keep flowing. He knew early on to latch on to the idea of memes. He had that photo when he first joined Nintendo where Mario and Luigi plushes are on the shelf behind him, tied up in a GameCube controller cord. So he'll get the memes. The memes about him are already starring. I've seen one too many Doug Bowsette fan art pieces already. And Doug Bowser, honestly, he'll never be quite the same as Reggie. He'll probably never create a new expression that people actually say in real life, like "my body is ready." I still to this day cannot believe "my body is ready" is so universally used when it started as a Reggieism. Like, Doug's not going to do that. But it does seem fitting that for Reggie's final act, as the man who fans have memed for 15 years, he is now passing the meme baton as best he can by handing over the reins of NOA to a dude whose name is literally Bowser. So Reggie, that's a mic drop if I've ever seen one. So yeah, so that's the Reggie thing. I do think Reggie's leaving on an absolute high note though, like perhaps the highest of high notes, because he helped launch a system that's not only achieving Wii-like numbers, but doing
he also helped launch their worst system.
True, but he's ending on the best system.
I know, yeah.
Because it's not only like Wii-like numbers, it's doing Wii-like numbers in a way that appeals to all fans in a way that the Blue Ocean era did not.
I can only imagine, because this isn't that much into the Wii's lifespan.
Switch.
The Switch's lifespan.
Yeah.
I imagine he probably thought he was going to retire like around towards the end of the Wii U, but after he saw how the Wii U did, he thought like, maybe I should wait.
Yeah, there might be
Switch.
so. And also the Wii U was cut short by a couple years, so
yeah, exactly.
This might be when he's going to retire regardless.
So I feel like if the Wii U had been extremely successful, only like now I imagine we'd be starting to hear about the Switch.
Totally.
But yeah.
And I mean, he deserves it. Like, he deserves to go out on top. He deserves to go out when the system's on it, has crazy good momentum. And like, all signs are pointing to Switch momentum continuing in 2019. Watch me slide into adjacent sales corner, but NPD just put out January sales numbers the other week for the US, and Switch was the number one console both in terms of units sold and revenue generated, which is interesting because it was in a month where the entire industry was down 19% compared to January of 2018. In fact, NPD didn't release these numbers, but leaked numbers show that Switch is the only system that saw sales go up year over year, from 275,000 to 285,000. Not a huge increase, but notable when PS4 went down by 23% and Xbox One went down by 57%. Basically, it gives Switch the highest January performance of any current-gen console since PS4 in January of 2014. So, it's a good time for Reggie to go. Like, Switch is doing great, and I should mention, it's even more noteworthy when you realize that the January 2019 NPD reporting period is 4 weeks, but the January 2018 reporting period where Switch sold less is 5 weeks, meaning that weekly it's selling even more than it did a year ago. Like, it's a smaller window and it's doing higher numbers. So, good time for Reggie to bail out. I think it's all thanks to a couple factors. I mean, if you look on the software side of things, like specifically January, if you look on the software side of things, January had big releases like Kingdom Hearts 3 and Resident Evil 2's remake, and those were understandably number 1 and 2 on the charts, as you'd expect. But right under that was New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe at number 3. And it's funny because we discussed an episode ago, maybe 2, that in Britain, sales of Mario U on Switch were 30% higher than when it launched on Wii U in 2012. And weirdly enough, that's the exact same percentage it went up in the US sales as well. NPD says that it has a 30% higher launch than the Wii U version, which seems kind of big given like launch games usually sell better because no one has anything else to buy. So that's promising. But then there's also the sustained momentum of Switch's other big games. Smash Bros was number 5 on the chart. Is only bested by Black Ops 4, or else it'd be right next to Mario. And then Mario Kart 8 was number 9. Zelda was number 13. Mario Party was number 15. Odyssey was number 20. You get the idea. Like, these games just keep selling. And the point is, that I'm trying to make here, is that people are still buying Switches for games that debuted months ago. And that evergreen momentum that's in place now is a big part of Reggie's legacy. He talked about it all the time back in the Wii days. He tried to in the Wii U days. Now does it here. And it helps that, Switch owners not only are buying these old games, but then have this insatiable appetite for games. Like, practically every couple of weeks, we keep hearing about how game X or Y is selling crazy well. And to that point, stories have bubbled up that, an indie game like Tangle Deep sold more in 1 week on Switch than it sold in 6 months on Steam. Or Wargroove made back all its dev costs in 2 days flat, which granted includes other systems, but still, that's crazy. Or even like on a larger scale, Mega Man 11, Mega Man X Collection 1 and 2. They sold 870,000 and 920,000 units respectively. And again, they're on other systems, but we know for a fact Mega Man 11 actually sold best on Switch. That's a lot of Switch numbers probably. The real test I think for Switch, and for Reggie's final few months here, is going to be how do they keep the momentum going now in February, in March? Because outside of Tetris 99, which probably isn't a true system seller, there's nothing new for Switch until Yoshi's Crafted World at the end of March. So that's 2 full MPD charts entirely riding on momentum of existing games. And it's kind of like the ultimate test. Like, is Reggie really leaving at the absolute peak? Like, if Switch is able to continue selling as well as it has in a month where there's no new releases, in 2 months when there's no new releases, then yeah, Reggie's leaving at the most opportune moment for sure. And what I find kind of funny is, it's not like it had to be this way. Like, April and May are packed with a bunch of ports that some third-party publisher is probably kicking itself for not putting out during these slower months. I mean, I don't know if these would impact one way or another on how Switch momentum goes, but it feels like a missed opportunity for these games to at least capture the attention of current Switch owners. Because like in April, for example, we're seeing a ton of games. It was just confirmed that Phoenix Wright Trilogy is coming out, Then you've got Final Fantasy X and X-2 HD, Final Fantasy 12, Dragon's Dogma, the War Master edition of Darksiders, a port of Super Dragon Ball Heroes, which is their card game, plus new titles like Mortal Kombat 11 and Box Boy and Box Girl, plus the Smash 3.0 update, plus Starlink's new Star Fox content. That's a lot of stuff in April, which is normally a slow month. And then in May, as of now, we've got Saints Row the Third, Team Sonic Racing, Assassin's Creed 3 with the bundled-in Liberation port, and Capcom just announced that Resident Evil 0, 1, and 4 are all launching on the same day of May 21st. It's like all this stuff that's crammed into those 2 months. They could have spaced it better, I feel like. Like, there's 2 dead months right now. Put something in there. Like, some of these are ports that probably could have been ready. I don't know. It's weird. But the Resident Evils are actually kind of interesting. Like, I don't know if dropping 3 games at once is really logical. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's also the first time that core Resident Evil experiences have ever been portable.
Isn't Square Enix like dropping? Didn't they drop 2 of the Final Fantasy games? Like,
but they're not doing them on the same day. They're doing them like once a month or once every 2 weeks. Like even like 10 and 10-2 HD are a bundle together, so that makes sense. But then like 12 comes out 2 weeks later, not the same day. So it's kind of weird to me that they're doing 0, 1, 4 all at once. I mean, some of it makes sense because they're bundling 0 and 1 together in a physical release called I think it's called like Origins Collection or something like that. And you will get a physical copy of 0 on the cartridge and then a download voucher for 1. Which is basically what they did with Resident Evil Revelations and Mega Man X Collection, where you got like one game one way and one the other, but they both come with a box. It is weird, I agree. But that's kind of like, okay, I get why those 2. But like, why not do Resident Evil 4 now? Or like in June? Or like, I don't know. Like, who's buying 3 Resident Evils all at once? Especially when they're each $10 more than they would be if you bought them on PS4. They're $30 a pop. If you buy the Origins Collection, you're paying $60. You don't even get a discount for buying them together. It's strange. So I'm curious, actually, now that I think about it. You are exactly the demographic they probably want, Angel, because you are a big fan of Resident Evil 2, are very invested in the series at the moment, own a Switch, and conceivably, if you like one Resident Evil, wouldn't you love to play 0, 1, and 4 portable for the first time ever? Like, you're kind of the person they're trying to target. What are your thoughts on this? Just the price, the fact that they're all coming out once, all of it. Like, are you interested?
It's going to be a weird answer, but I mean, I'm interested, but I mean, I've been interested for a while. I already know I'm going to get them, but I'm going to get them on the PS4.
Well, it's cheaper on PS4.
First of all, cheaper. Second of all, I don't really see a reason to get them on the Switch. Like, playing them portably, it's not really the kind of game I would want to play portably. I love playing Resident Evil with like the lights off, with the speakers up. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just a really good environment. Just like nice bigger screen. Like, yeah, I'm sure they work portably, but I just rather all have them on that same console.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think it also like.
Also, I probably wouldn't want to get 0 right away. I'd probably wait on that one for a while.
But then you can't get 1. I mean, you can get 1. I guess, yeah.
Oh, I mean, on the PS4, I could do whatever I want.
True. You're a free man on PS4. Technically, on the eShop, you can also do whatever you want, just for $10 more a piece.
Yeah, exactly. So I can't. Yeah.
You can. You just choose not to. But yeah,
the same person wouldn't.
You know what's funny is like if stuff wasn't delayed, these 2 months would be even more crowded because like Shovel Knight Treasure Trove got delayed. That's supposed to be out in April. Killer Queen Black was supposed to be out this spring. That's gone now. It's summer or fall. Untitled Goose Game was also supposed to be out around April, but is now delayed till later in the year. Like, imagine those smaller games like that getting completely eaten alive by these bigger releases. Like, it's a crazy month. And it's like almost all ports, which makes it seem even less logical that they can't space them. Like, I really don't understand 3 games in one day for Resident Evil, but whatever. Speaking of ports, though, what we're seeing here with this sheer number of games and how it's just out of control, it may just be the tip of the iceberg. Because there's been a lot of smoke lately about a whole different set of ports that's actually kind of massive, if true, Xbox. So the gist of the rumor is this. Microsoft plans to bring its Game Pass service, which is powered by its separate xCloud streaming service, to Switch. What?
I said that'd be nice.
Yeah, because what that would mean is that hypothetically you could play some of the highest fidelity, biggest Xbox releases on your Switch as long as you're on Wi-Fi. It'd basically be how Resident Evil 7 or Assassin's Creed Odyssey worked in Japan for Switch, where they're streaming from a central server, just obviously on a much larger scale. And it's kind of funny, like, this rumor actually started with a report, I believe, by NintendoInsider.com that speculated that Nintendo would be reviving Scalebound, which is a previously Microsoft-published Platinum Games developed game that got canceled. And at the time of that report, most people in the know seemed to suggest that wasn't actually the case. They were saying that perhaps parts of Scalebound were reshaped into Astral Chain, which we know is coming out in August, but that Scalebound itself is probably not coming to Switch. But then this opened a whole can of worms, because then they started dropping tidbits about how Microsoft and Nintendo are working on something big, which soon snowballed into where we are now, which is both Game Informer, obviously a legit source, and Direct Feed Games, which Game Informer claims is a legitimate source with a proven track record. Both of them are saying this is real, this is happening, we're getting Game Pass on Switch. And should it be true, I would argue this is probably one of the biggest shakeups in the industry since Microsoft first joined with Xbox in 2000. Like, if you think about it, if you could get Xbox Game Pass on your Switch and then combine that with Nintendo's own offerings, you're pretty much set. Like, you won't have PlayStation.
Zero reason to get an Xbox.
Yeah, zero, but that's not necessarily Microsoft's concern anymore.
No, I know that.
Yeah, but even PlayStation's in a weird spot. They have exclusives that people will buy. They have people that are in the PSN ecosystem.
They should just have PlayStation Now on the Switch.
But yeah, it's like it's in a weird spot for PS4.
Everyone is here.
Everyone is here. It's just like, I mean, to be fair, streaming games, they have some latency, and you'll need an internet connection active to play them. But it's not like you're ever in an internetless park playing a PS4. Yeah, and I could see if someone cares more about multi-platform than exclusive, a Switch with Xbox streaming on it is potentially way more appealing to them than a PS4 would be, or a PS5, or whatever it is. And that should have Sony a little worried. Like, that's a pretty drastic shakeup, theoretically. And you did raise the point of, like, well, what about Xbox sales, and what do you do with that? And in the traditional hardware sense, it is kind of a weird move for them to do this. But there's one thing Microsoft has made clear these past few years. They're way more interested in becoming a platform-agnostic services company. This is the gaming equivalent of when they opened up, like, the Office suite to work on all platforms, or when they bought Skype to be on all platforms. I mean, they've already announced plans to bring xCloud to smart TVs and let you just hook up a controller. There's rumors of new Xbox hardware that's literally just a streaming box that hooks to xCloud. This is really just the next logical step. This is not that absurd if you look at Microsoft's bigger picture. And I'd argue it's actually a very forward-thinking, savvy move on Microsoft's part, because it lets them get out in front of a wave of new streaming services that are about to hit. Amazon, Google, they're both rumored to be doing something. Google at GDC next month is actually going to be unveiling their streaming service, game streaming service. So it's moving fast. But
at GDC?
At GDC, yes. They're going to have a keynote. But if Microsoft is already there, or coming there right now with the brand cloud of Xbox to kind of keep those guys at bay and establish itself as the dominant streaming player, this is a very, very, very savvy move if that's what they're doing. And if that's true, it means we also have 100 Xbox games potentially coming to Switch. Big, small, everything in between. Like, do you think, let's say they did it, would you actually subscribe to Game Pass? It's not even that expensive.
Eventually I would, just not right now.
Right. But, like, you're not concerned about latency or anything like that? Because
no.
Presumably by then they would have worked out the kinks.
I'd be mainly playing that stuff at home, so...
Yeah, that's true. And I guess a big part of it is, if Microsoft is willing to shake up their own business model for Xbox this much, and if Amazon and Google are jumping in at this level, they must have all figured out how to make latency not really an issue. Like, maybe it is completely a non-issue, but it's funny because, like, reading up on this rumor, you see people saying it has to mean a fair trade. Like, Nintendo now has to make games for Xbox, right? And then, like, just today or yesterday,
really?
Just the other day, there was a image on the Xbox dashboard. It was for Black History Month, and it has black game characters, and someone took an unofficial render. Someone at Microsoft had an unofficial render of what's her name from Splatoon? I can't believe I'm forgetting her name. Not Kai Marie, the new set of them. Anyway, she was in the banner on the Xbox store. Like, in the edge of it, you could see her tentacle.
Marina?
Is that her? Yes, her.
I don't remember the little one's name.
Well, her. But yeah, she's in her, like a fan render of her tentacle hair is in the banner, and people are like, wait, does this mean like Nintendo games are coming to Xbox because Xbox bring games to Nintendo? And it's like, no.
Marina and Pearl.
Yeah, Marina and Pearl. And it's like, no, it does not mean that. Like the whole, like, but the console wars, like, this is not new, people. This is exactly the strategy Microsoft's been fine-tuning with Minecraft for 2 console generations now. Like, just because Minecraft is on Nintendo platforms, it was the number 1 selling Wii U game in Japan. Just because of that, we didn't suddenly start seeing Mario on Xbox. And, like, I don't think that's going to change if they bring Game Pass. Because in Microsoft's mind, just getting their IPs on other platforms is the win. It is the end goal. They don't need people coming back. They're going to sell the streaming service in mass in higher quantities, and they'll sell the console to more people, and it's a bigger opportunity for them, is their logic in that, at least. And to that end, another part of the rumor is that we're going to not only be seeing Game Pass, we're going to see straight-up Xbox ports coming to Switch, maybe to prime the pump for Game Pass, I don't know, but one that everyone, including Game Informer, seems certain of is Ori and the Blind Forest as an actual, like, physical release on Switch, which is, you know, kind of perfect. It's an artsy Metroidvania platformer, which everyone on Switch seems to eat up, except us, because, you know, people love their artsy Metroidvania platformers. So there's that. But then there's a separate report, and this one I'm very into. Cuphead may be getting a Switch release. Now, this comes from Jeux Video, which is a French gaming site that's been around probably as long as Reggie's been at Nintendo, now that I think about it. And they wouldn't just say this without good sourcing, I'd imagine. And they're getting behind the idea that Cuphead's coming to Switch.
That'd be pretty cool.
That would be cool. I've always wanted to play Cuphead because, like, it's really cool how it draws inspiration from classic cartoons. I just don't have the things to play it on. But I like the concept a lot.
Seems like you would not really have fun playing it.
It's one of those super hard platformers, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a bullet hell.
I'm okay with bullet hells. I played Kuruga and all that.
Well, then combine it with the platformers. You have to do the platforming while doing the bullet hell.
I would still check it out. I like the concept.
Oh yeah, I mean, you should check it out. I mean, there might be like like an easy mode or something.
I hope so.
Because, I mean, it's...
Have you actually played Cuphead or just watch Elvis play it?
I played it a few times. I mean...
Is it that hard?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the whole point of the game is to be ridiculously hard.
Then maybe I would suffer too much. Okay, well, that changes my perspective. Maybe I'll watch someone else play it on a Switch. There we go. I could do that with any system. Maybe I'll wait for the Switch.
But I'm sure, like, especially if it's coming to the Switch, they would include a mode makes it more friendly for everybody.
They kind of have to. Or not have to, but they should. They have to. You hear that? You hear that, Microsoft? You have to. No, but what's interesting is, at least in the case of Ori, the direct port, if everyone's correct, is the direct port's being published by THQ Nordic. So this was rumored and then sort of indirectly confirmed by someone spying it in a UK sales database, which kind of throws all these rumors into an interesting light, because if it's in a sales database, if it's in a UK retail database, there's some legitimacy now to this. And there's legitimacy to Ori coming to Switch and being a Microsoft thing, then the Game Pass stuff isn't that absurd. And what's actually kind of interesting about being THQ Nordic is it's a fun throwback of sorts to the old THQ publishing Microsoft property scheme they had back in the Game Boy Advance and DS games. Like, remember Banjo-Kazooie Grunty's Revenge, or Oddworld for Game Boy Advance, or Banjo Pilot, or that one puzzle game where it was like a snowman in pants, or he had no pants, or I think it was called like It's Mr. Pants. It is literally a puzzle game about a snowman with pants. He was a mascot from Rare's website's Mailbag, and they made a game about him. Yeah, it was an actual game. It was a cross-licensed deal between Microsoft, THQ, and Nintendo for a snowman with no pants. Real thing. But yeah, you know, they did on DS too, not with the pants guy, but like Age of Empire and Viva Pinata, and at one point they even considered and were building a Halo for DS, so this is just that strategy revisited. At the very bare minimum, having Ori poured over is that strategy. And that's what, you know, revisiting old strategies is what THQ Nordic is very good at. They basically acquire their way back into the hearts of gamers by doing everything THQ once did. So they bought the THQ name, they bought IPs, they reforged the old Nickelodeon partnership. Now they seem to have Microsoft and Nintendo as partners for this initiative. The problem is they put that all in jeopardy this week by hosting an AMA on not Reddit, not Twitter, not Facebook, not Reset Era, not any reasonable website, but 8chan. Yes, that 8chan. The one made by people who got rejected for 4chan because they're such bad people. The one that got blacklisted by Google for having associations to child porn. They decided that is where we should have our AMA.
Jeez.
And as you can imagine, yeah, that blew up in their face very quickly. Because apparently the one thing THQ Nordic cannot acquire is a competent PR team. Because there are a few scenarios of how this could have all gone down. They claim they didn't know how bad the site was. But if you are a guy that works in PR or community management, you will at least Google the name of the site, and you will see the first result, the Wikipedia page, explaining how it's associated with, all sorts of racism and child porn and Nazism and like all sorts of bad stuff. And there's also the whole Gamergate angle in there, and there's all sorts of stuff. You would see that.
If there was ever a metaphor for the seedy part of the internet.
Yeah, it'd be this. And what's crazy is like, so then they go through with it and they post the AMA, and all these tweets are telling them, don't do it. And they know. They tweet, like, oh, we're going to do an AMA on 8chan, and we don't know why. Like, okay, so you're obviously aware of its reputation if you say that. And then they double down, being like, this guy Mark said he'd take care of the nasty stuff. Like, who is Mark? We still don't know. And then the backlash started, and they started posting apologies. But for at least most of the day, they left up the link to 8chan in their Twitter feed. Meaning if you're a kid and you like Sphinx and the Cursed Mummy on your Switch or whatever, and you go to THQ Nordic social media because you want to follow them, and then you click the link to their AMA because like, oh, I want to learn about their new games, you are dumped into a thread where there is all sorts of references to like pedophilia and all sorts of other stuff that THQ's people were playing along with and answering.
Wow.
And you're a kid who now indirectly is stuck in the middle of all this, and you were referred there by the eShop. Like, imagine Nintendo's now in the middle of this, and Sony's now in the middle of this, and Microsoft's now in the middle of this. And I imagine they're not happy about the fact that, like, these publishers that have established presence on their, or this publisher has an established presence on their storefront, has links on their social media after saying they know they made a mistake, keeping them up to the place that they realize was bad. And they realized it was bad because their apology was literally, in the apology, I am not a pedophile and I am not a racist or something like that. Like, it was something along those lines. It was, the whole thing was horrible.
This sounds like, I don't know, like one of those like Onion stories or something.
Yeah, except it's real. So I think there's a couple, honestly, I think they were doing?
This was a PR stunt?
So what?
This was all intentional?
So I think on some level it might have been. I think what THQ Nordic was doing, maybe, is 8chan, along with all the stuff we describe about how horrible they are, is also home of people that like to dox game journalists and support like the real extremes of Gamergate and are really into like kind of this super on the right view of the gaming world. And I feel like someone at THQ or some people at THQ are like, we should signal to these guys that we're the game company that got their back. Like every other game company is saying, no, this is bad. What if we go in, say we didn't know what was going on, and back out? But those guys get it. They know why we're there. We're playing along with their memes and jokes. They understand. But to the 90% of the other gamers, it won't seem like a big deal. We say, sorry, we didn't know, and we move on. That's what I think it was.
Oh, man, they've got political quick.
No. It wasn't supposed to be political, but I think they were basically like, this is a subset of an audience we can appeal to, and I think they estimated it was bigger than it actually was.
Where's that Pokemon conversation we were having?
No, I'm not saying.
I know.
Yeah, but I know. But I think that's part of it. And the reason I think that's part of it is because it wasn't just a PR guy who took, like, one guy's like, I take responsibility. One of the 7 board members of THQ Nordic was participating. Like, we're talking like high up management. So like this had to have been somewhat calculated. It's too dumb not to be. Or their PR team is really that incompetent. So take your pick. It's either my conspiracy theory or just pure stupidity. It's up to you. But regardless, it's a crazy scenario. Anyway, I'd hate to end such an exciting rumor about Xbox coming to Switch on a sour note. So let me pose this question. What would you want a newfound partnership between Microsoft and Nintendo to actually lead to? Because, like, obviously it makes an idea like Banjo-Kazooie that much more possible inside Smash. And we can get maybe Rare Replay comes to Switch, and all those classic games. But I think what would be perfect is GoldenEye, a remaster of GoldenEye.
Oh, you lost me.
You don't like GoldenEye?
Go back to Rare Replay.
Okay, Rare Replay. What do you think of that idea? And then, well, GoldenEye's also Rare, so it wasn't too far from the path.
Yeah, but anything but GoldenEye.
You don't like GoldenEye? Perfect Dark?
They just haven't aged well.
Well, no. So here's what I'm thinking about GoldenEye. We are in the age
of... have the Wii version.
The Wii version's not really GoldenEye. I mean, it sort of was.
Exactly.
It sort of wasn't.
Because it wasn't the N64 one, which was terrible.
Listen,
but it was all you had back then, therefore it was good, and everyone should worship it.
Correct. No, what I was saying is, right now, we're in peak 90s nostalgia. We have the Switch, which is hooking lapsed gamers and focusing on multiplayer. If they were to put out GoldenEye in the same way like Final Fantasy VII is coming out or whatever, people would go crazy. Regardless of what you think of the game.
And then be like, wow. And then...
They could tweak it. They could fine tune it. It could be a remake. But my point is, like, if they were to do something with GoldenEye right now, it would just be endless free money for them. Endless. It'd be printing money. They would be able to start their own economy. No, seriously, it would be huge.
Would the legal hurdles be that big? Or?
Well, that's the thing. Probably not. If Microsoft and Nintendo are this buddy-buddy now, and this is all happening,
yeah,
they're
but
having these high-level
who has
talks.
the rights to, like, 007 and all that
So
stuff?
Nintendo owns the code. Rare developed the code and has the right... Like, Nintendo apparently is the owner of the code as the publisher, but they can't do anything with it without Rare's permission, which is now Microsoft's permission. And then separately, they just need to go to MGM and go, like, yo, we're going to release the thing that's going to make you a bunch of money. You cool with that? And I'll be like, yup. We don't make very many movies anymore. And then it'll work out.
Well, I mean, people will be happy, so that's all that matters.
I think just as a business move, it makes sense. Yeah. But yeah, so that's the news.
But I mean, you didn't ask me as a business move. I mean,
yeah, that's true. Okay, well, what would you want?
I mean,
to
if
see?
it was a business move, then yes.
What would you want to see? What Rare game do you think should be remade?
Remade?
Yeah, remade, updated, brought to Switch in some meaningful way. Because this is the opportunity now.
Probably just Diddy Kong Racing.
That'd be cool. That would be cool. Hey, it's the whole like Star Fox Grand Prix rumor. It should have been Diddy Kong Racing 2 the whole time. It's kind of that bubbling back up. I could see him doing Jet Force Gemini. That's kind of like
the game. I know the game.
I rented
exists,
it a couple
but
times.
I don't even know what kind of game it is.
It's a third-person sort of shooter adventure. It's like Banjo-Kazooie, but with like guns. It's like Banjo-Kazooie, but you have like guns and you shoot aliens. Kind of.
I assume the dog was Jet Force Gemini.
The dog's name was Jet Force Gemini. The whole one dog was all that.
Yeah.
So who are the humans? Where are they? What do they do?
I don't know. The ones that pick up the poop.
Oh. Sounds like you just want to play like Nintendogs, but with laser guns.
Oh, the brother never owned a Nintendogs.
You never had Nintendogs?
No.
You know, there's a new kind of Nintendogs-esque game coming to Switch called Little Friends that actually looks pretty adorable. You could get that.
Oh, we'll have to look into it.
I think that's where we end our news segment. There's a game called Little Friends going to Switch, but that's not where we end the show because we've also been playing things. So we have 2 round games, 2 circular orbed games. One is Pool Panic, which I've been playing. Guess we could start there. Pool Panic isn't exactly a new game, I should be fair. It came out last year, but it was on sale in the eShop for like $6 a little while ago. And I kind of always wanted to check it out, so I figured with the current game release lull, now's a good time to do it, and I'm pretty glad I did, because above all, Pool Panic is an experience. Like, it's weird, it's kind of trippy, it's very colorful, it's pretty much the Adult Swim aesthetic, like, in video game form, which makes sense since it is an Adult Swim game. But it's also just, like, a really interesting concept that's always changing and evolving. Like, basically what the developers did is they took the core mechanic of pool, the idea of hitting one ball into other balls using a stick, and they just threw in as many weird, bizarre, wacky scenarios that they could think of. And they were kind of able to do this because they opened up what it means to play pool. Like, you still control a cue stick, you use the right stick to aim it, you use the R to thwack the ball, or R to do like a gentle thwack. And it even includes like a little handy indicator to show you the trajectory of the ball you're going to hit. But you also are kind of playing an adventure game because like all the balls, including your cue ball, are anthropomorphic. So you're using the left stick to actually walk around as your cue ball to then line up your shots with the stick and to interact with the level itself. And you can like jump as if it's like a normal video game character. It's an interesting mix. And then the levels themselves are like the furthest you can get from a typical pool game. Some are rather straightforward. Like, oh, these balls are having a picnic. You should disrupt them. But then others get really absurd as they go. Like, there's one where you first cause a car crash on the world map, and then you go into the level, and each ball is slowly and angrily climbing out of the wreck and looks slightly injured, and then they start running and stomping around angrily. And if they get too close to you, they will actually grab you as the cue ball and throw you into the pocket instead of them. So you have to kind of like navigate around these guys very quickly because... Like normal pool, you know, you can sit there and just be like, what's the best angle? What's the geometry here? But this is like they're charging at you because you crashed their car. So you need to move fast. So it's a very different, experience. There's like another one where you're essentially hurting pool balls by running around them. There's no cue in this at all, like no cue stick at all. You're just literally hurting them into pockets. And, you know, there's other ones like riding motorcycles and robbing banks and like Wild West stuff. It's a crazy, eclectic selection. And what I noticed pretty quickly is that literally every level, at least from what I played so far, introduces something new or different, with the only through line being the balls of different color tend to keep their behavior across levels. So there's like gray ones that are always screaming and running away if you try and hit them. There's orange ones that will sidestep as you hit your cue ball, and as it rolls towards them, they'll sidestep at the last second. There are green ones that are kind of like almost like soccer defenders or like hockey goalies, and then everything else is just a grab bag of weird. Like pockets may be hidden behind rocks, or they may be potholes in the road. Balls may come in and out of a level on a school bus. In some cases, you need to figure out how to get the balls to come out in the open just to then smack them into hiding again. It's very interesting, and like ultimately all you need to do in each level, and there are 100 levels plus a hard mode plus multiplayer, the one consistent goal across all of them is to knock the 8-ball into a hole. And usually you first have to knock other balls into other holes to then be able to knock the 8-ball in. But it's cool to see how creative they get with all those ideas of which balls to knock where, or what you need to do to get the 8-ball to the point where you can knock it in. Like in a way, it kind of reminds me of WarioWare almost, because it takes a very simple control mechanic, in this case just pool, and then goes absurdly wild with it in all sorts of different directions. Like often it's up to you to figure out how to go about achieving the goal, just like with WarioWare, where it's just like, all right, here's the situation, go. And there are secondary goals for each level. You can finish the level within a certain number of cue ball hits, or within a set time, or without landing your own cue ball in a pocket. But I think the WarioWare analogy works beyond just like the gameplay idea, because the humor and the tone is, the sheer randomness of it really is very WarioWare. Like just how it bursts with personality is very WarioWare. Like I think one of my favorite examples of this is you can enter a bar at one point, and there are other pool balls hanging out in the bar drinking juice boxes, as I guess they do, and playing pool. So the pool balls are playing pool in the pool hall. And if you go play pool with the pool ball in the pool hall, you actually enter a pool minigame, which is normal pool. So inside this weird world of random crazy pool, there's a little minigame that's just normal pool. It's just like WarioWare. Yeah, right? It's very, very WarioWare. And like the game isn't perfect. The choice of a fixed camera angle, it kind of like takes on the look of like an old beat 'em up game, and it mostly works, but I've had issues with views that made it hard to find a ball, or the ball, like it may seem like it was right from me, but it's actually standing on something further down in the foreground, so that can be a little annoying. And there's also the fact that because the game throws, so many different ideas at you, like every single level is something kind of different, at least from my experience so far, that means that you don't necessarily get to build on ideas or have like gameplay advancements. It's just like a scattershot of random thoughts, and that works, except you never really know what skill set you need, and sometimes you don't even know what you need to do, because it's all these new ideas, and nothing's really like, I wouldn't say coherent, because it is with the ball behavior, but nothing's really like, you can't take a idea from one and assume it's going to work in the other. It doesn't always. And that kind of goes back to my original description of Pool Panic, which is that it's an experience. Like, you're not necessarily playing to play pool, because it's not really pool. And you're not necessarily playing to solve like adventure-style puzzle games, because the puzzles aren't so much problem-solving as it's just like experimentation. But it's still a really fun experience, because it's just weird and colorful and wacky and has good art design and bizarro music, and really that's what's keeping me coming back to it. It's just like so strange in a good way. So that's pretty much Pool Panic. I recommend it for like I said, the experience more than anything else. There's nothing else like it on Switch.
Yeah, even just the visuals. I mean, as you said, I really like looking at this trailer footage. It just looks very appealing.
It's very Ren and Stimpy.
The colors are very nice.
The art style is very Ren and Stimpy to me. But yes, it is very nice. So that's one game starring round characters that I've been playing. The other is Battlloon, which we both got to check out recently, courtesy of a review code. And, fun fact about Battlloon, it's published by Untitled, which is the Japanese indie game publishing arm of Sony Music Japan, which is weird because what I'm saying is Sony has published a game on a Nintendo platform. PlayStation Sony makes a game for Nintendo. But regardless, let's talk about the game itself. I think the best way to describe it is that it's what would happen if you took Mario Party's bumper balls, or Super Monkey Ball's Monkey Fight and stuck them on a 2D plane. Like, you still have the primary goal of trying to be the last person standing by ramming into others, but because it's 2D, you need to represent death differently than just falling off, like how you fall off in 2D. So instead, it's contained now. There's spiked walls to slam opponents into and pop their bubble. And or their balloon, I should say, because each player is a balloon. The main gameplay mechanism is that you need to inflate and deflate to move around. So you hold down A to inflate, you release A to deflate, and then you use the control stick as you're doing all this to steer where your deflation propels you. And then you just kind of like ram into each other. Ultimately, you want to be the last balloon standing, or get the most, or be unpopped, or get the most points, whatever the case may be. And it's a very simple mechanic, and it does work as intended. I feel like it could be a bit faster, maybe.
Yeah, it got a lot of things right. I mean, presentation, I feel like it nailed.
Yeah.
Controls, like just the way the game feels.
The pick and play nature.
Yeah, like I feel they nailed that too. But yeah, like literally, like the games we compared it to, like Bumper Balls and mainly Bumper Balls. Like those are fun because of how fast they are, like how quickly the games just go by. But this one, like, you have to inflate yourself and then let go, and you build up momentum so slowly that by the time you're, like, going at max speed, you already want to change direction, which means you have to already start blowing in the opposite direction, and when you do that, you pretty much just come to a complete stop, and then you have to build up that momentum again. And that's if someone already hasn't hit you and, you know, like, killed you because you touched the edges. And, I mean, there's random items that pop out sometimes, mainly they all seem to do the same thing, which is just completely freezing your your tracks, or just have you drift in a certain direction dazed while someone else comes in and bumps you, albeit very slowly. Now, what I kind of wondered after playing this is, when balloons typically, like, you know, like release their air, they fly by really fast. Like, they zip and zap around the room. So I feel like doing that would have been incredibly fun. Like, just have, like, make each round, like, last. And they do that because, like, they have a point system in place for winning first place, for getting, like, some knockouts, that kind of stuff.
I think
So they just need to, like, literally, like, you could still have the inflating mechanic, but just have the people fire off, like, crazily and make it so that, like, all right, the angle that you hit something actually determines where you're going to fly next. That way, it's not a complete straight line. And if you hit someone, depending on, like, who has more momentum at each other because you're going so fast, is the one that wins out. Whoever is going faster, obviously. Or so bigger, if you want to factor that in too. Like,
I think part of the reason I feel like I think part of the reason it plays at the speed it does is to your point about the point system. Again, with the bad pun, but the developers, it seemed like they were anticipating people being really strategic about who they want to pop, and I don't know if that's actually how we played it, because like winning goes, how it works is you get a point for your last balloon standing. You also get points for every KO you achieve. You get a bonus point for killing whoever won the last round. And you get points. I already said that one for if you're the last balloon pop.
Yeah, but you know what other game does all that stuff too while being fast?
Towerfall.
Yeah, like they keep track of all that data. It's very strategic, and it still
there
goes.
was
like,
one more thought to that,
and it still goes really fast. Right,
the thought I was gonna say is there is one other element that only applied when we did 4-player, not for 2-player. But when you get popped, you come back as a ghost. And what's interesting about this whole point thing,
you could do in Towerfall also.
Can you?
Yep.
Oh, well, then I have no excuse. But no, I was going to say what's interesting about that.
We just don't really play with that mode because that mode makes it drag a little longer.
Right. Because, what I was going to say about that is, like, it's interesting because the points aren't reliant on just being last man standing. It's literally a whole amalgamation of all those other reasons. You could die at the very beginning and then still win. And I think the reason they made it so slow, and I agree it should be faster, but I think the reason it moves at speed it does is they were hoping you would, like, okay, who am I going to target? Okay, that's who I'm targeting. Okay. They've been hit. Now, who am I going to target? Okay, that's who I'm targeting.
If it was like a online battle royale with 100 other balloons, I feel like that speed would work.
Dude, that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
But because it's just 4, and trust, I mean, like, I really want to like the game, but it's really just the speed. Like, with 4 people, like, I would say it's just okay. That I feel like after one round, you're kind of over it. But with 2 people, I feel like it's not even worth trying.
I do think, like, the foundation's there for a lot more.
But that's right. But everything else I feel was done really, really well. And so it almost feels like something that they could tweak.
I think like a 2.0 update. Because, I mean, even, like, I kind of want to give credit to the fact that...
Or they could even keep it the same and just literally add another mode. Just call it turbo mode or something.
Because, they did something cool where they actually... Like, there are 6 different characters, and they do actually do different things. So they are trying to
they have different properties.
Yeah, so there's like a big pufferfish who is, he doesn't turn very fast, but also doesn't move very far if you get hit. There's this little bird that moves really fast, and then there's a balloon named Mr. Balloon.
It's funny how you say really fast, but it's still
really fast
slow.
compared to everyone else.
Yeah, he also doesn't blow up as much, so
yeah, it's more like a little like quick panting sort of thing.
And some of them like the description will tell you like straight up what they do, and sometimes you could tell, but others like are vague for some. Like one says like very stylish. I'm like, okay, what does that mean?
Yeah, well, I don't.
And then there's some that are like can't be stopped. All right, so does that mean if I hit someone? And then I played as that bat. It was the bat that said can't be stopped.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, does that mean like I damage people when I hit them or something? So I just like attack someone, and it's like, nope, I can't tell what's different about them.
Yeah, and then there is the one...
Like, some were clearer than others. Like, the bird definitely, I guess, was more agile because it's a little smaller, but I almost felt like I was at a disadvantage the whole time because I couldn't blow up as big, but I somehow still won without really hitting anyone.
So
because
I guess you weren't at a disadvantage, were you?
Well, no, because everyone killed themselves by accident. Because, I mean, it's kind of hard to stop yourself, and you're just going to run into a wall and kill yourself.
Well, I think a big problem that I noticed I stopped doing after we played a bit more was initially I would inflate all the way and then go as far as I could, and I realized actually like little quick huffs does better, like little rapid fire A pressing. But I think the best character is Mr. Balloon, who's just the balloon, because he gets faster by walls. So you can kind of squirm out of situations. Again, faster is relative. But yeah, I don't know. I think it is very... The foundation's all there. That's the thing that's kind of just like... There's so much potential for them just doing an update. Because even though like little things, like the way that every level is sort of a monotone color in a way that makes all the balloons always pop on screen visually. Again, no pun intended. I am so sorry. But like, that feels well thought out. That's a nice touch. It's just that's it. Like, that's the thing. Everything we just described is the whole game. There's no single player mode. There are no different modes built on top of this foundation. There are different levels you're battling in, and as you noted, they each have different obstacles that kind of do one of a few different things. But you don't have the option to choose individual stages. You just hit battle and then get kind of tossed in random until someone wins it all. Like, it's just a bit light on content for $7. And I think if they did a 2.0 update, as you were saying, if they maybe added a turbo mode or any sort of interesting new mode or a single player mode, that could be it. That could be what turns like a fun idea of a game into something that actually has longevity and will really propel itself forward. That pun was intended. The others haven't been. So yeah, I don't know. It has all the charm it needs. It has the core concept down. It just needs some fine tuning, I think, is the takeaway.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that No Name Studio considers that and does more. And to be fair, if you are a group that prefers slower paced games, like, this will do it. It's just I think we're a Towerfall family. So family of friends. So that made it a little hard to compare. But the groundwork is laid. I'm hopeful they do something with it.
Yes.
I will definitely revisit it if they do, 100%. But yeah, that pretty much does it. We had quite a range of things this episode. I mean, from Pokemon to more Pokemon to more Pokemon to Reggie. So we'll be back in 2 weeks' time for our next episode on Sunday, March 17th, which, really, I don't know what we're going to have. Nintendo's been full of surprises, good and bad lately. So whatever it is that happens, we'll be there covering it. Easiest way to make sure you hear that coverage is you can subscribe to us on all the podcasting apps. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, YouTube. At our channel there is RandomNintendo.com. You can follow us on Twitter at RandomNintendo. I am at JSR7 on Twitter. He is at Wero on Twitter. And this is actually one of the few times we really do this. But I'm going to ask that if you enjoy the show, consider leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts or on iTunes, because it helps us gain exposure, makes a better show, makes more opportunities, and it's a win for everyone. Plus, it makes us feel good. So, So with that, any final thoughts?
I guess not.
Well, then I'm going to leave us with one final Reggieism.
I feel just like a purple Pikmin.